So first things first, you can give like a quick introduction of yourself, of who you are and why you want to get this coaching session. So you can just go ahead and do that right away.
Yeah. I go by Duke online, or you could call me Ted from real life name. I've role swapped around a bunch of different roles, but I'm now ADC. It's a lot of fun, and I'm just trying to see some main areas that I have problems with. See if my mechanics are good, because I certainly didn't have those when I was in other roles. Things like that.
Right. If you could, by the way, open my stream on Discord.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, great. And when did you role swap to ADC?
Maybe a year-ish.
All right. Right. I mean, first things first, we'll just quickly look at your OpenGG. So, first of all, I see two things. You're basically going like static into Infinity Edge on Vayne, right? I see two things when I'm on Vayne, right? I see you go like static and Trinity Force basically every game.
Yeah.
What's the reason behind doing it like this?
I think it's the best combo or best mythic, probably. After experimenting and stuff.
Why do you think it's the best?
Well, just from feel. I know some people slightly disagree with this, but I'm a fan of win rates and stuff, so it's moderately convincing if you look at Vayne's numbers on Triforce, in my eyes. It's felt good to me too, so pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Triforce, like it makes sense that it feels good because it gives you health and movement speed. Both stats make it like way more forgiving to play, right? Like if you make like a positioning error and you get like chunked, you have more health, like they can't on you as easily. Or if you like need to kite, obviously move speed will help, right?
Yeah.
So it's not as if Triforce is necessarily a bad item on Vayne. The only thing is that obviously, like DPS wise, Triforce is not the best item, right? And kind of the same for Static Shift, right? Static Shift, got nerfed now, so you need like, I think it's level 12 or 13, one of the two, that you need to start one-shotting caster minions with Static, and before that you don't one-shot caster minions, so it's a bit awkward, right? But it gets like really good wave clear.
Yeah.
But again, the thing obviously is that just damage-wise, right? It's not necessarily the highest item, right? So if you're going static into Triforce, sure, it will feel nice because you have wave clear, you have like more survivability, you get like movement speed, right? But obviously you won't be as strong damage-wise, right? Which is not always a problem, but I think when you're playing into like squishy champions as Vayne, usually you just want to have like Infinity Edge to do like because you get AD from ult, right? So you do like really big crits with Q and Infinity Edge. And then when you're against like tanks, you usually just want Rage Blade because it's like obviously the best DPS item, right? Into tank champions. So I would say Triforce is like, it's kind of an in-between item where it's like you get like a bit more burst on the Sheen proc and you get like attack speed as well. And AD, which obviously gives you like DPS as well. But it's not like an item that I would say, okay, you want to go Triforce like every game, right? I would say in games where you really need to like survive and kite a lot, right? You're not always hitting, you just need to kite and survive, and you need the stats, right? The health and the move speed. You can go Triforce, but in games where you don't need it, for example, if I'm looking at this game, right? I mean, movement speed doesn't really do anything against their champs, except like pike hook, I guess, right? But apart from that, you don't really need to move at speed. And the same for the health, right? Like if you're stuck in like Poppy stun or like Casio W, or you get like hooked by pike, the health from Triforce realistically isn't going to save you, right? So then I would say just go to the build that gives you like more damage, right? Because it makes it easier to actually carry fights and actually like have a big impact, right? As
So
for
what
what you,
item order
yeah,
are you saying? Like static? Because I sometimes go PD second
yeah.
because it's cheap.
Um, so basically, um, when you're doing the Kraken build, so first of all, Vayne as a champion, right? If you're doing the Kraken build, it's kind of like Kog'Maw, where you have a lot of damage just from like your champion, right? Like your base damage is really high on auto attack, so it scales really well with attack speed. So if you are playing Rageblade build, you can do 2 or 3 damage items. You can go like Borg or Kraken into Rageblade into maybe with Send if you need to like another damage item, right? And you can actually build defensive items because you're already gonna be like really strong. Like you're really strong mid game damage wise, right? And then you can transition into more of a tanky build, and you can kind of face tank a lot of things and just fight, right? Um, Alternatively, if you're doing the IE build, you would just want to go like, typically speaking, you would want Kraken Slayer because like the strongest first crit item on ADC right now into like IE, right? Um, the goal on Vayne, usually like the strong thing about Vayne is that you spike really hard when you get your ult and when you have like one item, right? Um, like
Yeah.
you're really strong in like a 1v1, and your team fighting at that point is also fine, and then you kind of curve into mid game nicely, and depending on the comp you're playing into, of course, right? If you get hard at range, it's hard, but if you can hit, you do good damage, right? um, so yeah, you just want your first item to be an item that you are like strong on, that you can all in enemy on, right? Let's say this game, just as an example, as comp, right? Let's say this spike is like roaming a lot and your trash wants to match. If you're left in the side lane and you're one item versus one item Jin, like just 1v1 in lane, you should always have the pressure on him, right? Because you should demolish him in a 1v1. Um, does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
The static wave clear does help a lot,
yeah. I
though.
mean, I'm not
Because Vayne
saying.
cannot. Yeah, she can't do anything to the wave.
Yeah. I'm not saying static is never the best item, right? I'm saying you want to switch it up, right? Depending on the game. Like in a game like this, for example, you're gonna be like perma pushed in, right? By Ezreal Xerath, you could consider going static first item because it
Yeah,
can
yeah, but
suddenly give you more
I
windows to
go it.
fight, right?
I go it to clear the wave, like, because if they're always pushing in, you're under tower, so they can't melt your tower, or you can poke them, I guess, a little bit when they're doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so you're not permanently sitting under tower hitting minions. That's sort of the reason I
Yeah,
go it.
but for example, a game like this, right? You really don't need like this lane priority doesn't get decided by who clears the wave the fastest. It is more decided by who wins the fight, right? In a
Yeah,
game
this
like this,
game.
if you're rushing static, it's not your optimal 2v2 fighting item, right? And that's kind of what you want to play for, right? You want to play to be able to like to be strong in the 2v2 fight and to just how do you say it? To just get prio by fighting, right? So if you're going static in a game like this, it's like still gonna give wave clear, obviously, but you can also just get prio by going like a stronger first item by going. I would say, for example, going Borg into Rageblade is the nicest game because you are gonna hit like low range champs, right? Like Tryndamere, like this guy. Alternatively, Triforce is actually into Tryndamere. It's actually a good item because the stats are actually relevant into Tryndamere, right? Like the movement speed, because you can kite out his ult. So this is a game where Triforce is actually pretty good, but you can do like a different item than static first item. Um, as for runes, right? I can quickly go look at runes. But these are your typical runes, right, on Vayne, where you want to take double defensive second. Kind of the same reason why going defensive items after 2 or 3 items is like good on Vayne, because you will get like you already have good damage, right, just from your kit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you ever switch it up in terms of like what you take in green, but green is like fine. A game like this, what you can do, I don't know if you did it. Yeah, you didn't. So a game like this, what you can do is go second wind, secondary, just to survive lane better, right? Because your goal isn't. I mean, your goal, you should just want to get through laning, like early laning phase against these guys, and look for windows with Amumu all in, right?
Yeah.
Alternatively, sometimes you will need like summon spell CDR, right? A game like this could be an example where enemies have Nautilus, right? And Nautilus, basically every melee champ at the moment, every melee sub at the moment takes like this, which means he's gonna have Cosmic Insight, which means what he can actually do is flash on you with Cosmic Insight. That trades flash, but then he has like a 45-second window, right, where he has flash and you don't. So that's also something to think about. Like, do I need my summoner spells to be able to fight? And if not, you can go like green second, right? Oh, it's already in all champs. Let's see what else you play a lot. I mean, it's mainly Vayne, right? Your matches right now.
Yeah. This. I was playing Ezreal for a while. I know you play a little bit. I just kind of gave up because I couldn't make him work at all. I would do lots of damage every game, but I could never seem to win.
Yeah, I mean, Ezreal is one of the champions that like
Do you think he's early game? I was gonna ask about this later a little bit.
I think
That's what it
he's.
feels like. You have to like snowball.
Yeah, I mean, you can snowball very well in Ezreal. The main thing is if you fall behind on Ezreal, it feels really shit, right? Like you don't necessarily have to be ahead of curve, but if you're behind on curve, I mean, it goes for basically every ADC, right? But on Ezreal, especially if you're behind on curve, it's gonna feel really bad. But I mean, he just directly scales with how good you play him, right? The more Qs you land, the better he is. That's just kind of how Ezreal works. So if you hit all your Qs, he's gonna be the best ADC in the game, and if you hit none, he's the worst, right? I mean, if you want, we can quickly go over Ezreal builds, but I don't know if you still want to play him or not.
I don't want to talk about builds too much.
Yeah.
Either.
That's fine. I mean, then we can just go into the review, I would say.
Yeah.
So this is actually the game.
Game. Yeah.
So
this
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this game didn't go that bad for me, but I die a lot in mid game. And I thought my support was a little bad, and my whole team, as you'll see. So
yeah, I mean that's sometimes the case, and so right. But the first thing to talk about, right, is already your starting item because you start D-Blade 1 pot here. But
yep.
I mean, I don't know.
It's because of Vayne's health, her base health.
I
Look,
mean,
with D-Blade, I'm still only at 630.
Yeah.
So I know you're probably gonna say longsword. But yeah.
I mean,
it's also a win rate thing that I'm looking at too.
I mean, the way you basically have to look at it is so Dorn's Blade, the stats are you get 8 AD, 80 health.
Yeah, it's just the extra 80
health, right? And a bit of Omnifem, which early game it's very little, especially in a lane like this, because you're not gonna hit minions a lot, right? Because if you walk up to hit minions, you're gonna get hit. So the Omnifem is gonna be very low effective health, right? Before your first base.
Yeah, I'm thinking even if I go Doran's 3, I'm just gonna get poked out, so we have to all in. And I'm taking D-Blade to ensure we win the all in.
But that's the thing, right? So when you're playing, so you are right? Your lane has to all in because you're playing a Mumu and you're playing versus double poke jump, right? But what that also means is that the conditions for you to be able to take an all in is first of all, Mumu obviously has to find an engage, but when he finds the engage, you also have to be able to win it, right? And to be able to win it, you need to be high enough health to not die, right? And realistically, you aren't going to find a really good all-in like the moment lane starts and they can't get a single spell off before, right? So
you don't think we can all in level 1?
no, I'm not saying you
Even-
can't. I'm not saying you can't take a trade level 1. I'm saying realistically, you're not gonna fight to the death level 1 against their lane, right? I don't know if you agree with me on that, but unless they really
I'm
fuck
not-
up, right?
I'm not saying I know for sure, but yeah.
I mean, basically, unless the enemy bot lane really fucks up, there's no way that there's ever a fist fight to the death level 1 because their side of the lane really doesn't want to, right? They don't want to take an all-in level 1 and fight to the death unless it's winning for them.
We can't walk past the wave or anything?
Not really, right? Not really, because they're gonna poke you out. So my point is, right? My point, what I'm getting to is, this is 80 health plus 1 potion. 1 potion is 120 health, right? So that's 200 health. If you and 880, right? If you start longsword, it's actually 10 AD, which is 2 more, right? And your effective health is gonna be, instead of 200, is gonna be 306, right? So it's 160 health advantage. Obviously, there's like a bit of Omnifamp, but realistically, Omnifamp is not going to amount for 160 health, right? So that's
if I go
Mhm.
if I go longsword, am I looking to trade? Because I know with deep blade I'm obviously not.
Yeah. So if you're going longsword, the thing is, even if you're starting longsword, if you're full HP, regardless of if you're full HP with D-blade health or without, if Amumu finds a good engage, you're gonna win the all-in, right? You're not gonna lose the all-in if he finds a good engage. So what that means is that the immediate health that Dorn's Blade gives you is not needed, whereas going 3 pots versus 1 pot and 80 health is actually more effective health over the longer period of time in the lane, right? So let's say you don't find engage level 1, 2, 3, right? And because they're playing Zeref Ezreal, you're gonna get poked out a bit, right? Now, if you have only 1 pot and you're gonna get poked out, after you use it and you get poked out again, you're gonna be lower health, right? Which means you're actually gonna be lower health than if you had the extra pot. So then when you take the all-in, you're actually gonna have less health to fight with, meaning the chance of you losing it are actually higher, right? And the same for, obviously, if you don't get the all-in and they can continue to look for poke, right? You're also gonna have to base faster because you have less effective health, right? And the other big benefit that longsword gives is that it's 350 gold that immediately goes into the item you want, whereas Dorn's Blade is 450 gold cost, right? So as long as you're sitting on it, it's 0 gold towards your item, and then when you sell it, it's only 180 gold towards your item, right? Because obviously you get like bad value, right? Selling it back. So you're gonna have spent more gold on on not an item that you want, right? And you're gonna have less sustain. An example of when Dorn's Blade does matter is, like you said, you need it during the all-in to not die, right? So let's play as example, you're playing against Samira Alistar. The only way they fight is if they want to take like a fight to the death, right? Then the immediate health that Dorn's Blade gives is good because you just need to not die to the initial burst, and then that's all your item needs to do for you, right? Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, do you agree as
I
well,
understand it
or
all.
sorry?
Yeah. It does make sense. If you don't think they can burst me, even without the health, then yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you get hit by like all the spells, of course, it might matter, right? But you shouldn't be getting hit by all their spells if you're fighting, right? You have flash, a movement spell, heal to dodge, and your Mumu should be in front of you as well, right? So if you look at it that way, then there shouldn't be a situation where that happens. But yeah, that's for starting item, right? As for how to play the lane, what I always like to look at is what you want to do on the waves. And the first 3 waves are like the most predictable, right? So the first thing I always look at is, okay, who has control of this lane? What I mean by control is like who decides whether or not the lane is pushing. So who do you think has control in this lane? They do, yeah. Is there a way for us to stop them having control?
Cheese prio. Hit level 2.
What do you mean by cheese prio?
Get to the wave first and just hit it a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a way, right? Let's say they are leashing and you're not, and you start hitting wave immediately. You might get prio. But if they start lane and you start lane, do you think you have prio?
No.
Not really, right? So one thing, and this like really good in solo queue to do when you're like the all-in lane, right? Is if your level 1 is not weak, which your level 1 isn't the greatest, but it's not that weak either, right? You can just choose a bush, right? You can either choose this bush if you know that they're leashing, which they shouldn't be with the lane they're playing, or you can choose like third bush, see maybe they walk into it, right? Let's say one of them face checks, you get like an Amumu Q and you get to trade, suddenly you can have prio on this lane, right? But if that doesn't happen, they will have prio, right? So what I then want to look at is like on wave 1, 2, 3, how should we play? And the way you should look at this is after wave 3, what is like our goal, right? How do we want the lane and the wave state to be? So what do you think our goal is in this lane?
Not get poked. Get as much farm as I can. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to fight level 1 in my mind because they're both squishy, so we should probably have a chance of killing one of them. Keep the wave in the middle as if we can.
Yeah, I mean, you already kind of hit the nail on the head, which is like you don't want to get poked, right? That's objective number 1. You don't want to get poked out. And then you also said it in the right order. Objective number 2 is you want to get farm, right? So what that means is like we don't want to get 1 farm and then take 2 abilities to the head, right? Obviously, that's not going to be sustainable long term. So what you want to do, since they have control, you don't want to get poked out, right? As you said, I think you can take trades level 1 if they mess up, right? If they walk in front of the wave or like too far from their minions and Amumu can land a Q, then yeah, you want to fight, right? That's good. So like I said, either you can choose to push level 1, or afterwards, if you see they misstep, right, you can look for a trade as well, right? If you don't get any trade, your goal is just to
Am I just waiting for 6
right?
then, or what?
I mean, yes and no. So on level 6, they have no cleanse, right? So on level 6, with Amumu ult and your ult,
Yeah, we can kill them really easy. Yeah, it's crazy.
for sure. You should smash them 2v2, right? If you get the fight. So getting to level 6 is really good. But before that, if they're pushing up and you know Phil can't be there, obviously you can look for ganks as well. Or because they're playing the poke lane and you're playing the all-in lane, if they play it like pixel perfect, they should always win the lane. But if you see them make mistakes, there will be windows where you can look for engages, right? Those windows are basically when like they don't have means to play on, right? So in this lane, our goal should be, like you said, don't take damage. Then goal 2 is like get CS. And then whenever you see them make a mistake, you want to look, right? Obviously, you're playing ADC, so you're not the one getting the engage off, but you can like maybe ping for it if you see it, right? Like communicate a bit like that. So knowing this, right? On wave 1, what do we want to do? Do you want to hit the wave and walk up, or do you want to not hit the wave and just last it?
In my mind, there's 2 options. It's, as I said, either cheese or just last hit. Like cheese the push and hit 2. And then shove that in and then just chill out. Or even cheater if we really want to.
I mean, realistically, you only get a cheater, of course, if they fuck up, right?
Yeah, if they don't show up.
Yeah, so if I'm looking at this lane, like you're saying, what I want to do level 1 is just last it, right? I don't want to start pushing to them necessarily, because if I push a little bit and it means that I traded for HP, it's not good, right? The second goal is I don't want them to get a big slow push, because if they get a big slow push and that they can crash on, then they can poke you out, right? So whenever you can thin the wave a bit, it's good, but you don't want to trade HP for hits on minions, right? So wave 1, you just let them shove in, so they just shove in, right? Wave 2, does anything change?
No.
Not really, right? I mean, it depends on the state of the wave. If you're for sure not getting level 2 first, then yeah, nothing changes. But obviously you're playing melee sub, so he's gonna have 2 shares on wave 2. So maybe if there's the window, he can look for double share, right? And then you take a level 2 all in. But if that's not the case, you just want to let them shove in. And then on third wave, yeah, go ahead.
Is it even bad if we're slow pushing though? Because it's
so
something is like Ezreal Qs
Mhm.
and stuff. I feel like he's a lot more useless.
So if you're so if you're slow pushing, it's actually okay for you, especially since they don't have a ganking jungler and they don't have setup bot, right? So yeah, if they give you the window to slow push, I think it's fine. The only thing is if they are not messing up, you don't freely get the window to slow push, and you don't want to trade a slow push for your HP, right? Because then it's also not worth. But if you can freely get a slow push, yeah, it's fine, right? It means their wave is small, and if their wave is small, like if you're always just trading hits on minions and they don't have the time to hit you, it's good, right? It's good. You're avoiding the poke. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
All right. And yeah, on third wave, right? Our objective doesn't really change, right? We want to make sure their wave on third. So third is the wave, the cannon wave that they want to crash on, right? Their lane. So third wave is like the big wave for them. So we want to on wave 1 and 2 fin wherever is possible, and on third wave we just want to last it, right? And take as little poke as possible. So they're gonna crash this, and we just last it, right? Third wave is also kind of the wave where Amumu has like a window to watch, right? Like if they mess up, if they stick around on the minions too long, you can look for an all-in, right? On third wave. But it just depends on what they do. So we can just go into into the FOD now. Wait, I misclick. See if anything happens level 1, but it looks like nothing happens.
With their champs, it's a fiddle. I was trying to get my support. He didn't listen to me the whole game very well.
Like for sure, like we said, right? One thing you can do is look to cheese lane, right? So, only thing to be wary of is if you do that and they're already in bush set up, they'll just throw 2 spells and run away, right? And then you get poked out a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So get into the bush. That's good. That's good. Okay. So now this means 2 things, right? So first of all, it means they're probably leashing, right? So Fiddle is probably starting here. But also their minions have already walked up, right? So now when they walk like this,
they
right?
can't walk with the wave anymore.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, exactly. So when they walk like this, you're allowed to look for trade, right? When you're looking for this trade, I mean, obviously it's a Momo that has to engage, right? But you can also like ping who you want to go on, right? And ping when you want to go. So be mindful of that as well, so that you're like aware and on the same target. And I think you should go on Ezreal early, because if you don't, Ezreal has way more return damage on you, right? Like if he's free hitting, you can actually lose the level 1 trade, because Ezreal level 1 is quite strong. Especially with PTA, right? Also, I don't think you can get like a 100 to 0, like if you Q like on this spot, I don't think you get like a 100 to 0 guaranteed on them, right? So because of that, okay.
He tanked it.
Yeah, he tanked it, which is good by him, right? To tank his first ADC. Okay.
I think I did fine. I don't see anything too bad here.
Yeah, no, you did fine. The only thing is what you can do is like wait a bit with the Q to dodge like this arrow spell, right? Because he now throws it after your Q. But if he starts W, which is like the slow, and he throws it on you, then you want to Q away, right? So you don't get hit. So I think that's the only thing.
I'm
and
just
apart
max
from that,
DPS
it's good, right?
thing, yeah.
Yeah. But because because he has to, like, you kind of already know he has to disengage the moment this happens, right? So he's probably gonna look to flash out. So max DPS is like, it's good, but you're gonna get this Q auto, like the Q auto, you're gonna get off on him anyway, and you're not gonna be able to follow afterwards anyway, right?
Sit there autoing till he casts W.
Sorry?
So I sit there autoing till he Ws.
Yeah, yeah. Or whatever spell he levels, right? And then you can dodge it with Q. And then apart from that, yeah, you play it like how you should, right? There's not much to it. I mean, it's good that you disengage after this hit, right? What you can even do is like walk away a bit faster. So this means go on your means a bit faster, right? But yeah, it's good that you walk away. You don't want to keep the trade going. And now after this, right? I think you're allowed to just keep on playing this bush. Because they don't have vision clearly on this bush, right? They didn't ward. And they're already chunked out like this. And the Xerath even more, right? And you have Q up to dodge spells if needed. So what
So
you...
me or my sub or both?
Both. But you especially, like your sub is kind of low, right? But you especially, if you're sitting in this bush right now, Ezreal, he wants to throw Q on this, right, to last hit. But with your auto range, if you're here, he can't really pass this point that easily, right? Because what you can do is you can walk out of the bush, auto attack him, and then walk back into the bush, and you will drop all the mean aggro, right? So until they ward this bush, you can kind of play here whenever you want. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Because what will happen now, right, is this minion will die, and you will have to walk away, because otherwise you're obviously going to get mean aggro, right? And then they're going to be able to play more up, right?
If they were all-in champs, though, I probably couldn't do this as much, like a all-in support.
Yeah. I mean, if the roles are reversed and you're playing against Amumu, right, you're standing here, then obviously if you get hit by a Mumu Q, it's really bad, right? But like you said, because you're not playing against all-in champs, but poke champs, you can do it, right? And it's also because they're low. If they're both full HP, Xerath will just walk up into you, ward this, and then look to trade, right? And it's also not necessarily good. But yeah, imagine if you're standing here right now, you would never do this, right? They would be further back. And also your Mumu could play more up if they're like this, because this guy has no flash, right? So if you're here and he's walking up like this, Amumu could just flash Q him and he's dead.
Yeah.
And here still, right? Like, kind of the same thing applies where you are trading autos, like on wave, right? You're trading autos on wave, but they're so low that they shouldn't be allowed to trade autos like this. And especially since Xerath just used a spell, right? Like here, Xerath used a spell. Now he's completely useless, right? He's like a
And
minion,
Ez did, yeah.
right? So you're able to play way more aggressive and just kind of trust your mechanics that you're of course gonna Q the Ezreal Q, right? Also for Ezreal, if he misses Q, early laning phase is really detrimental because
Yeah,
he loses his
he's
passive
useless.
stacks and his Q is on a long cooldown, so he's gonna be way weaker, right? Okay. And now we're about to hit 2, right? 3 minions to 2, only this 1 minion. And now
Yep.
you're allowed to just ping up, right? Look at how far they are up. If Amumu flash Qs in right now, right on the Xerath, he's dead, right?
Yeah.
You can kill this minion with your Q auto, and then you kill him. So if you see that they're out of position like this, and you realize, you can ping like your support to be aggressive, right? And then if he doesn't do it, then it sucks. But can't perfectly
How
control
much
what
are
he does,
you
right?
thinking about sums?
Sorry,
As
what did you say?
How much are you thinking about sums? Because I know that's something I don't do as much as I
So
should.
I mean, in
You're just
lanes.
you're just keeping track of bot lane, probably.
Yeah, I mean, usually I keep track of bot lane, and depending on the jungle, it's really important to keep track of jungle as well, right? Like, let's say they're playing Fi or Gragas, right? Obviously, it's really important. And it becomes even more important if one of the two sides is an all-in lane, right? Because all-in lanes become way scarier if you have no sums or if the all-in lane has sums, right?
Yeah.
So in a game like this, it's really important to keep track of when their flash are down, especially on Xerath because it's immobile, right? Because in the 2v2 it means you can maybe take an all-in, but it also means that let's say they're pushing up and you have a Mumu flash and they don't have Xerath's flash, it's
Yeah,
basically a guaranteed
it's
gank,
guaranteeing
right? Like if your
you kill
Kindred
him.
comes, he's dead, basically, right? So yeah, keeping track of sums is like especially in bot, like in lanes like this, is really important. Let me go back a bit.
So I'm just trying to slow push 3.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, right? When
Should I
this
be sitting in the
happens,
wave? Should I be sitting in the wave
um,
up there?
so right here, I mean, you can
Like
still play this
around.
bush, right? Like you're doing right now.
Yeah.
As long as you're not hitting from the bush, they don't have vision, and then you can play the bush, right? And obviously they can look to throw blind spells in, but if they miss them, it's bad for them, and you're like a champ with a movement spell, right? So it's harder for them to hit. So I think you let the next wave cross, right? You just keep the slow push going. You let the
So
next wave
I
cross.
should still be in the bush.
Yeah. And it's good that your
Okay.
Mumu goes to ward as well, because enemy jungle started bot side, so if he sees
You can
there's a lot of
3
fighting
camp.
bot, he could do 3 camps to bot, right? So the spot waste warding is actually the right one, because then you cover both these paths, right? So that's good. And you can just sit in this bush, wait for next wave to come, right? What do you think is like the ideal thing to do with like the next wave?
Fast as possible shove. Just hard shove it.
You can, right? Basically, what you're looking to do with the wave is you can't poke them out, right? So you want to gain some form of advantage. So that can either be basing, right, or like hitting plate, but which the second one you can't really do in this case, right, against the champs. So you want to create a big wave to base. So yeah, you can push the next one in, right? You can push the next one in, then base, and then run back to lane, right? I think alternatively, with how big the wave is, it's not that big, right? I think you can stack it with the one after as well, and then base and run back to lane. I think either is fine, but let's see what happens. Also, if you're making a slow push to crash, you want to avoid them hitting the wave, right? Because they're gonna thin the wave. And if they do
Yeah.
actively hit the wave, let's say this guy starts like queuing off cooldown, right? He's like, oh, I need to thin the wave, hit. I think you just go slow on the wave because he's gonna lose some minions on the slow push. You can stack it with the next one and then still crash on a big wave that you can base on, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And also, obviously, you're safe from ganks because of this ward, right? Fiddle doesn't have creative gank pathings really. Yeah. And I think if you're in this bush and the moon is walking like this, they can't walk up like they're doing right now. Because this guy is
Okay.
like low health, level 1, and no flash, right?
Yeah. I should be spam pinging Mumu, right?
Yeah. If you
Do
want to
stuff.
fight, you could just sit in this bush and ping up that you want to fight, right? I don't know, whichever ping you think is best to ping. Doesn't really matter. Just as long as he gets the message, right? And then, yeah, of course, minor thing, but like you want to wait, obviously, for the spell with Q, right?
Yeah.
But you get that.
Yeah. I used to be not play very mechanical roles, so I wasn't very good at dodging. I'm way better than I used to be, but I'm
Yeah.
still working on it.
I would say the easiest way to improve is just to be smart about it, right? Because a lot of times, if you're smart about what you do, you don't have to be as good mechanically to execute it, right? Like here, if you know, okay, I just want to wait the spell, then you can just sit there, wait the spell, and then Q. You don't have to like dodge around, right? But yeah. And also, as for this wave, like the same still applies, right? If you guys are way further up, they have to walk back because they're hard losing 2v2 right now, right? And then they're not able to thin this wave. And then you can stack this one with the next one that's gonna come out of base, right? Like we talked about.
Yeah, we can't. With how much they've thinned it, we definitely can now.
Yeah, for sure. You just want to leverage the advantage you have against them, right? Which is like the all-in. You want to use it, and Amumu is basically non-factor with how he's playing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
And here,
taking 100 damage for a cannon. Yeah.
yeah. But here actually, so here's the thing: when you're sub, so you're clicking backwards, right? Which you don't have to do. There's no real threat on you. If you're like sitting here, Ezreal can't Q you, and if there are like charges things, you have Q to dodge, right? So here, when your Amumu is walking up for the cannon, what you actually want to do is walk up with him and pressure these two to walk backwards. Because if they are able to freely hit your Mumu and you're not doing anything, right? You're standing here while he's walking up for cannon. Then obviously Zeref and Ezreal are like, okay, we hit the Mumu, and the Mumu gets chunked, right? But if you're walking up and when Ezreal autos a Mumu, you are ready to auto him, he's going to be hesitant to hit Mumu, right? He's not going to be able to hit him as much. And if he does hit him, it's not for free, right? You are also hitting him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I should do that.
Yeah. So you basically like trade the HP on your Mumu for their HP, or you get like less damage to your Mumu, right?
Would you say that he shouldn't even go for cannon though?
No, I think
I feel like
he's able to go for the skeleton. I think if you are here right now, right, or like maybe a bit further back, but like if you're walking up with him right now, then they are not going to be able to freely hit him, right? And then imagine if this Seraph like use a spell, right? Let's say Amumu is hitting this cannon. Zera's like, I like throw a stun or throw W. If Amumu is good, he's just going to flash over it and Q the Seraph, and you guys kill him.
yeah.
Because there's nothing for him to hide behind, right? It's these 3 minions that he can hide behind, nothing else, right? Or like his Ezreal, if Ezreal is like complete faker and he like body blocks it and he's out, right? But yeah, you can for sure just walk up for this cannon, and if they trade on you, you could trade back, and then if they misuse spells, like you could take the all in, right? Obviously, not up to you whether or not the Amumu will execute, right? But it is something that can happen, right? And like you kind of see it in the end as well, right? Where now they're hitting him, and now you get this auto off because he's trying to hit the Mumu, right? And he's not hitting you back because he's trying to hit the Mumu. Just a bit late, so you don't get as much off as you could. Yeah, and then now Mumu is like scared again, right? Let's see if he has any pots left. Yeah, no.
So.
Yeah, and now, so this is the part of the lane where Ezreal and Zeref can start taking over, right? Because now Amumu is like, if he gets poked once more, he can't even take an all-in, right? Because he's just gonna die. So now is where their lane actually starts taking over, because your all-in threat is gone, right? The threat your lane has is gone, and they can actually start just doing their thing, which is just sit there, poke you out, slow push waves, right? So yeah, like now Mumu's basing, now like your pressure is gone. You just have to let them push, kind of. Of course, if Kindred comes and they're pushing up, you can still look for the fight like this. But 2v2, they have control, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Instead of going for some blind Qs. So one.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Should I be thinning? Because I know they're trying to push. That's what I'm doing right here.
Yeah, I think thinning is good because they're giving you the hits for free, right? They're gonna push into you anyway. It's not gonna like make them walk away because you're thinning where you're standing, right? Like
they should maybe freeze though if they were good.
Yeah, but they can't freeze this wave state, right? Like if they can hold the wave here while Amumu's this HP, then it's really good for them, right? So you don't want to slow push into them and give them a hold, because then you're just gonna lose CS. But if they're pushing into you, your objective is to thin the wave so they can't crash a big wave, because if they crash a big wave, they can poke you on it, right? So what you're doing here is for sure correct. And one important thing is like when your Kindred is about to gank, is something I call like kind of showing your cards, right? Is one of the cards you have is that Kindred is gonna come gank, right? Like that's one of the plays you want to make as a bot lane. So what you don't want to do is suddenly start playing really aggressive, be like, oh, I'm gonna walk up right now, right? I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna fight. Because then enemy bots are gonna be like, oh, there's something suspicious going on, right? So what you're doing is really good. You're just playing backwards, you're just hitting for free when you can. If they walk up, you should walk a bit away because you don't want to get poked out, right? And then it also baits them into like walking up, they don't think it is gonna come, you can gank, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Alright. So yeah, I think just to finalize point, right? I think what you're doing here is fine. I think the only thing is you queue kind of aggressively, right? I think you just queue a bit safer so you don't like get hit by them, or even I think you can even just save queue. I don't think you have to, like, you're not in a rush to get this minion that fast, right? I think you can just stand here and auto it because they're not in range yet, right?
I think I'm going for 3 is what this is.
I mean, that's fair, right? But the thing is, I think right now, if you hard clear these minions right now and they don't hit, wave is gonna be in the middle, right? Wave is gonna be in the middle, which makes it harder for Kindred to actually gank, and it makes it harder for Mumu to actually find engage, because their bot lane is gonna play like here, right? Like if the wave is on this like purple line, their bot lane doesn't have to play as far up to be in poke range, right? And if you rush 3 now and walk up, obviously it's gonna show them, okay, something's going on. So they're gonna walk away, right? They're gonna respect naturally. It's like threatening if you do it like that.
Well, yeah, but they are shoving.
Yeah.
That's what
Like I
they're
said,
acting. Yeah.
I think it's fine to hit the minions, but you're not in a rush to instantly kill all the minions as quickly as possible. If that makes sense, what I'm saying.
What 3's a big deal.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
they're
for sure
they're
it
about
is.
it,
For sure
both
it
have
is.
it.
But you have share on a Mumu, right? And if you watch, so I'll just play it and show my point, right? So right now, if instead of Q you just auto, you need 2 more autos on this thing to kill it, right? With the auto that's like already flying. Like I'll find it. So here instead of this Q, like you needed 2 autos, right? So you need 3 autos on this one, and then Amumu can like share this one whenever he wants, or you can still commit the Q on this minion if you want, right? Basically, if you use a spell or like you throw an auto, you can't take it back. But if you have it up, you can always still use it, right? So you can always like go faster on this minion if you don't go fast on this minion, and it doesn't like killing this minion super quick doesn't give you 3 yet, right? It's this minion that gives you 3. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, my Q cooldown will be up at the more correct time though if I use it earlier on.
I mean, yeah, it's a low
Like
cooldown. Maybe I'm explaining it a bit wrong. Like my entire point is, if you hard clear these minions right now, like these minions, if you hard clear them right now, the wave is not necessarily gonna be in a like a super beneficial spot for you, which makes it harder to gank. And you
Yeah.
can always kill this minion quick with a Mumu share, right? For 3. And obviously the Zerv has no flash, so if he walks up to punish, you can just kill, right?
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
only
let's
doing it because
like
they're showing the hand that they really want to shove. So I think it's fine to rush for 3.
I mean, they're not. I mean, they're not really though. Like he's hitting, right? He's actively hitting, but they don't like right now. They don't have a reason to walk up. If their goal is to just hit minions, right? They don't have a reason to like walk up. And if they really want to shove, they're not gonna like right now. They're not even walking up for these minions yet, right? Um, so right now, it's not as if they are like running up, hitting these minions hard. You have to clear it fast, right? But it's a kind of minor point, right? Like it's not like I said, it's not necessarily bad that you want to clear a minion fast. But yeah, and now obviously the Seraph walks like really far up, right? So now when this happens and you see your Mumu walk up, all your clicks should be forward, right? You just want to take the fight.
I could have healed earlier. Well, this is a little funny. I thought Xerath was should heal
Yeah.
right now, right before. I normally am good about that. I feel
Yeah.
like, but
You can
not
just
this
heal
time.
right now, right? Right
Yeah,
now
right
you can
now.
heal.
Yeah, I normally would do this. I
Yeah.
just forgot, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's just one of those things that you have to think about, right? Okay, here he stuns you. Yeah, and here you just want to commit the ward, right? You have a ward up, you just ward, kill
Okay.
him.
I thought Kindred had him, so there's a little bit of no one
Yeah.
killing him for a
I
sec, but
mean,
it worked.
you had him until the point he stuns you, right? Like, right now, he stuns you barely before you can get your auto off, and then when you see he gets in bush, you can just ward and kill him, and then you turn on the Ezreal afterwards, right? You're gonna hit 3 and you turn on Ezreal. Okay. Okay, so here what you actually want to do, which kind of ends up happening not because of you, is so when he's going on Kindred, right? Right now, Kindred is actually at risk of dying, right? With how low he is. So you just want to get in between, like this is the line, you just want to get in between, right? You just want to body block Ezreal spells, and you can kill them together, right? Because now you click like this way. I didn't get the exact click, right? But you click like this way, and Kindred has like kind of trouble getting behind you. But if you just body block, there's no risk of him dying, right? And obviously you're not at risk of dying either because he's hitting Kindred. But yeah, overall, I think you could have played it a bit better, but the outcome would still be the same, right? So now on this wave, what do you think you want to do?
I think I leave it, and I think I will stay
Yeah,
with that.
for sure, for sure.
Only because not
mhm.
only because I'm Vayne, but partly because I'm Vayne and I can't shove anything.
Yeah, I mean, if
it
you
was
have a
like
champ,
Jinx or Xayah, I
so
would say it's an
yeah,
option.
so it depends, right? So on Vayne you can't shove it anyway, so you want to base anyway, right? But even if you can shove it, shoving, whether or not shoving is good depends on if you actually get something from the gold. Because this wave state, right? This wave state is gonna create a wave where it's gonna be on your side still. So and you have a gank support, right? You have a gank or setup support, right? And they just died, so they're gonna come back. They have to shove this in, right? So what you can do is when this wave is here and you're walking out of base, you can already call your jungle, hey, just come insta bot again, right? Just come insta bot again. And then when they're here, they want to push the wave. They didn't really have time to set up vision yet. Your Kindred's gonna come, Amumu's gonna walk up, and you gank them again. You kill them again, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So alternatively, like this game, again, you can't, you're Vayne, right? But let's say playing Xayah or Jinx, like you said, you can push it. It gives you a good buy, you can do it, right? Let's say you get like Noon Quiver buy because of it. Then yeah, it's good because you want your Noon Quiver buy, right? But yeah, right here you just want to base.
I think I thin it out a little bit more because it looks like it has a small chance of shoving
Yeah,
too
you want
fast
to,
in the
yeah,
tower.
you want to probably thin it a bit, right? You want to kill like 2 casters and just base.
I probably should just be hitting casters instead of whatever I'm doing here.
Yeah, just kill this caster, right? Kill this one, and then base.
Yeah, I should just
Because
kill
the problem
casters.
is, if you stay too long, it's not gonna crash, but they're gonna be here like relatively speaking to when you get back, they're gonna have more time, right, to shove it in again. So even if the wave is smaller, they just have the time to push it in. Okay. Now you get back. Let's see what you buy. This is fine, right? Again, their lane, you need to be a bit healthy to take it all in. So I think it's fine for you to buy pot, right? Boots also good value in a lane like this because obviously dodging skill shots. Let's say you're playing against a lane where they just have damage. They don't really have anything you can dodge. Boots value goes down, right? Then you just want combat stats. So then instead of buying a boots, you would buy longsword or like a
Another
dagger, right?
longsword.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, walk back to lane.
My
And
Mumu
right here could
farming.
be the thing I talked about, right? Like right now, imagine if you are Mumu and your Kindred are like going to bot and they're arriving to push the wave, right? You just instantly take the fight, and it's good for you. Yeah.
Are you saying I should be calling for this play?
Yeah. Like you can
Okay.
already call for it. Like right now, you could already know what's gonna happen, right? Or like right after you kill them, you can already know what's gonna happen with the wave, right?
Ezreal still has flash though, I think. I didn't
Yeah, but
think I
that's the
saw
thing.
him.
Even if he has flash, like your Kindred wants to be bot set anyway, right? Blue is up, right? Bot Scott's gonna be up. And Xerath has no flash, right? So even if Ezreal gets away, it's like you just want to look for the gank and look for the kill, right? Like if you base a bit earlier, right? If you would have based a bit earlier, you would be like here right now, right? Then imagine if you're a Mumu and your Kindred are here as well, right? And you're just 3-man ganking them on the wave they're trying to push in. For sure, you kill at least Seraph, right? And then you can freeze on the Ezreal as well, zone him from XP, la la la, right? You get like a big lead out of it. And you can actually snowball like further than just the 2 kills you got right now, right? The 2 for 1. And now also because we're not in this wave, right? They're able to actually play up, poke you out, and get the plate, right? Like if Xerath was here hitting, they would have gotten the plate. Does make do you understand what I'm saying by the way with the gank? Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
good.
just a frozen wave and Zerth doesn't have flash and they're both extended, so
Yeah. And you have setup as well, right? Like it's
yeah.
really doable
It's
gank.
just it's a little annoying to have to set that up as ADC, but I guess that's just life.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like the setup
Like
is already there in the sense that the wave's already good, right? You just have
yeah,
to
I
call
guess
for
I
it.
just have to call it, yeah.
That's like a big thing as ADC as well. Like you have very low agency yourself as a role, right? In solo queue. So you want to at least make sure you ping and ask for the help you can get so that you can get fed, right? Because you just need items. Once you get to your items, you are strong, but like early game, you have very little agency, right? So like basically telling your team like, hey, I want you to help me on this or that is like the most you can do. Okay. Also, at this point in lane, it's like kind of uninteresting in the sense that they should have control. They should be looking to push waves, right? Our objective is still the same. We just want to avoid poke. And whenever they make a mistake, we want to look for like an all-in, right? So right now, right now, this could be a window where they're like walking away. They're not really pushing the wave, and the Mumu is able to walk up, right? So what you're allowed to do now is walk up a bit, right? You don't want to walk up like too far and just take all the poke for free, of course. You want to give yourself a bit of space to dodge spells if they're gonna throw them your way. Keep Q up. But obviously, if Amumu finds like a good angle here, let's say they're overextended or Ezreal misses Q, you can actually look for a fight, right?
Yeah, if you hit Xerath though, I feel like it's a problem.
Yeah, it's like I
I
said,
feel
if
like
Ezreal,
Ez might kill us both.
yeah, if
we
Ezreal
fight
Q
here.
is down or if he hits Ezreal in a good way, it's good, right? But here the important thing is that the threat of engage is already really good, because if you notice, they're walking away, right? It's because they're scared of a Mumu engaging. But this also directly means they're not hitting the wave, they're not creating a slow push, they're not looking to poke you out, right? So basically, they're not doing anything, right, to avoid getting engaged on, right? Which is really good for your lane because it means you just get to farm, you get to get XP, and again on 6 you're like, it's really easy for you, right, to get like the all-in, get the fight going.
If you were them, what would you do here?
If I was them, I would already start like taking control when the wave arrives, right? Like right now, if they are take control, they're like starting a push. They're making sure Mumu can't enter this bush for free, making sure you can't walk up for free. Then they're not gonna get the risk because they're gonna be able to play in their minion wave, right? If you watch at this point, the only reason this engage is scary is because they're not able to play in their minion wave, right? Because Amumu can't engage through minions, right?
Yeah.
So if Amumu's not able to walk up further, right? If Amumu's like stuck here, you're stuck here, and they're playing like in their minion wave here, then you're not gonna get this window, right? But yeah, here you want to walk up and kind of like threaten the engage, not take the engage until they make a mistake, right? But just threaten the engage. And here the same for Mumu, right? He can just walk right back into this bush. There's no reason for him to keep walking out after the spell's thrown. Yeah. And now the thing happens where they get control back because now we're really far away. They're able to play in minions, right? And like again, you're playing ADC, right? So the only thing you could have done like here is, I mean, you're like looking to dodge this, right? Then this goes down. Now you can just play up, right? Now you can just play up. You could already play a bit more up. Obviously, Xerf Q is like linear, right? It's not. It doesn't have travel speed. It's just like in one line it does the thing. So, yeah. And now you just keep on playing up. Like clicking back here doesn't really matter, right? You can just play like on this line basically because that gives you enough time to dodge their spells with Q, while also being able to follow up on a potential Mumu engage, right? And then here, like the only thing you can do is which you do a bit later, but you do it a bit too late, right? Is just ping him to go back, because now they like now
he's doing nothing here.
Now you already lost control because if he starts walking in now, he's gonna get poked out by Xerath. Xerath's gonna walk away, wait for spells, and then Amumu is just gonna get poked out again if he tries to walk up, right? But yeah, like he's kind of useless, right? Now you just have to wait for the next window. And here thinning wave is good again, right? Because we want to make sure they don't get like a big wave to play on. So his Q goes down, there's no threat on you. So now you can last hit this and just hit, right? This is good. This is good. Yeah, all good. And this is one of the windows, right? That I was talking about. These are the windows where they don't have minions to hide behind that you can look for an engage. So here when you see a Mumu walking up, you're allowed to walk up as well, right? If Ezreal throws Q at you, you just use Q to dodge. He has Q on cooldown, and Mumu can look for engage, right? If he doesn't throw Q on you, obviously you're not at risk, right, of anything. So you can just walk up a bit. And then, of course, they have to walk away and walk up with the next minion wave. But what this does is that they're not pushing this as hard, which means while they're busy hitting this next wave, when the next one arrives, you can trade hits. You're going to thin the next wave, which means the crash is smaller, which means you're not going to take as much damage, right?
Yeah. We both die here. Ez is pretty strong.
Okay, let's see. So, first thing first, right? Because you like I said, because you're a bit too far away, you're not able to instantly follow, right? If you're able to instantly follow, let's say you're here, you want to kite like this way, because otherwise you make it really easy for Ezreal to hit Q on you, right? If Ezreal goes on you, obviously you can't just hit Xerath and let him hit you for free, right? So yeah, you want to be like you want to be a bit further up, and you want to kite like in a way that makes it hard for Ezreal to just auto you. Okay, now Ezreal's not hitting you, right? I mean, this is all fine. Let's see.
He's getting hit by all the minions plus all their skill shots. It looks like.
Okay, so this auto flies. Now you could already E Ezreal away, right? If you E Ezreal away here and he doesn't go throw like the fadeaway Q, or he doesn't how do you say it, buffer your E to like E out the Mumu, your Mumu's actually out, right? So if you had E'd him here already, I think Ezreal's like thrown away. Maybe a Mumu's out. But regardless of that, right? It also means you're probably not gonna trade kill. So going for trade kill is fine. And now it's kind of same, right? So you kill this guy, right? So now I think you can actually win this fight. Like at this point, I think you can actually win. So you walk into this bush, right? Wait, did you get? I guess they get vision on you because of the. I already throws the out. Yeah. So yeah, no. So I was looking if you actually drop main aggro or not, because it felt like that vision, but they don't. Like Mii's actually drop aggro, right? So yeah, this is all good. And then I think, let's see. So I think you can actually do the same thing here, which is like, now he doesn't have vision on you, right? Because you didn't hit from bush, so he needs to ward before he has vision. So what you can do is like you can walk out, then auto him, and then walk back in, right? And then he can't actually auto you because he's not gonna have vision, right? And then if you do that, you can probably dodge like 1 or 2 autos more. And then if you flash his Q right here, if you flash this Q, right?
Could this be a preemptive or reactive? As in, I calculate where it's going, or should I just flash the Q?
You should just
If it's
flash the
sort
Q.
of, because it's a little it's possible. It's just a little difficult
Yeah.
to perfectly calculate all that.
I mean, you just want to flash the Q because then you like don't take the damage, right? You could flash like up into this bush. Like ideally, I think you flash like now he wards this, right? So if you see that he wards this, which is really in the moment, of course, right? But if you see flash like he does this, you can ward into here, flash into here. He's not gonna have vision on you because you're not hitting from this bush yet, right? That means he can't auto you instantly after. Then you can wait a bit for Q cooldown and then auto Q auto, and like I think you can win it, right? I think you can win it. But now obviously when you get hit by this Q, now it's not a one fight anymore, right? And you can already see, by the way, like never mind. Yeah, now you hit from the bush. Yeah, I think if you do like the thing with the bush where you don't give him vision, you can at least cancel, like forcefully cancel one of his autos, and then if he cancels one of his autos, which like he does here as well, right? You can see like right there, he cancelled auto, and then you flash that Q as well. I think you actually barely win it because you have E up still as well, right? E does like 80 damage and applies like a W proc, or like a bit less than 80, of course. It's like without armor, right? But yeah, I think you actually win it barely. Yeah, and I think the buy is fine. Just go Noon Quiver refill. Like refill is good because you get like sustain. You want to get the first item, right?
I like refill a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's good into this lane. It's not good every lane, but it's good into this lane, right? Where sustain matters. Okay. Okay. Oh.
Yeah, I tried to. I don't know if that was completely necessary either.
I don't think it is. I think.
I guess I'm thinking if he E's out or something. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
But that's the thing. If he E's out, if he like E's on your E here, like if he E's now, you're just gonna push him away,
out.
right? Like if he E's like this, you're gonna push him away. So I think you just keep your flash to flash after him when you need it. Also, you don't have a ward in the bush, right? I don't think it even stuns.
No, it doesn't.
And then you don't have a ward in the bush to instantly hit after, right? So it's like I think you just arrive. I mean, what your Momo is doing.
I just auto him to death.
Yeah, what your Momo is doing is like really greedy, but he barely escapes.
I guess it kind of gets me a kill. So
yeah, I mean it's like he wants to hold wave for you, which is good. But the thing is, if he does this, then Ezreal can just not do what he's doing right now and push in the next wave and still base because your Momo is going to be so low that he's never going to be able to engage, right? So it just gives him one more wave that he can stack on and base on, basically, right? Like if you know your jungle is gonna gank, what he's doing is fine, right? If you know it's gonna be a gank and enemy jungle is not gonna be there, it's good, right? But obviously he doesn't do it
too. I don't think it's that bad what he's doing, even though he gets hit by a lot of stuff.
I mean, he does it before he sees Xerath.
Yeah.
I mean, now you see Xerath, right? But I think it's like really flip because you need a lot of things to go right for this to be good. But yeah, it does give you a kill. And then after this, what do you think you want to do with the wave?
I don't know. It's close in my mind.
I think. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's obviously either last hitting or hard shoving, I guess. It's probably not hard shoving.
I mean, the way you want to look at it, or the way I always want to look at it, right, is
I don't have a buy.
If you're freezing, right? If you're freezing, you're actively denying stuff, right? Obviously, but it also means they're gonna have a wave to play on, right? So if you're just freezing and they come back, they have a big wave to play on and poke you out. So you for sure don't want to leave like a big wave, right? So before they come back, already you want to thin it out. And then here, if you clear these means and then next you say you don't have buy, I think you actually do have a buy, right? You're sitting on quite a lot of gold. You can buy like the shard, or you can buy like boots and longsword, right? I think boots longsword probably the best buy you can do at this point. So I think personally it's just you perma hit minions, you just clear this and the next wave, and then you base, because it's gonna create like an even wave state, and you're gonna have spent your gold, so you're gonna be ahead with items, right?
We can't shove all this. There's no way.
No, it's not about shoving. It's just about clearing. Like you don't want these, like you don't care about these minions. You just let these die. You just hit the wave, right? Like I think you can just let it clear. Like you can let these minions crash into turrets as well, right? Just let the turret help you.
So and you're saying I'm confused. Are you saying the last hit or to shove this?
No, just hit minions actively. Like you just clear the wave, right? With the goal to base. So I guess you could call it shoving, right? But you don't really care about your minions staying alive. You just care about killing enemy minions, right?
So you're not talking about the wave that's coming in.
Yeah, I mean it's basically here, right? This wave, I think you have time with Amumu shares to just clear this and the next and then base. I think you do.
Really?
I think you do. Yeah, I think you do.
No way.
Like Ezreal is dead 13 seconds, right? Like they're not gonna contest this wave. I think you can just clear it and base. I think that's the best play. Because like if you're freezing, I don't think it's necessarily good.
Is it a cannon? If it's a cannon, there's really no way.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like you have Amumu with DMAT, right? Like he can just DMAT the cannon and it's dead.
Yeah, it's more my champ. If I was another better champ.
I mean, it's fine, right? It's fine. We don't get stuck in it. Like, if you don't think it's possible, I think it is, right? I think you can do it and clear the wave.
Both.
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah. But regardless, like the one thing I want you to realize on this is like if you freeze, like if you create a big freeze now, it's just gonna give a wave for Xerath and Ezreal to play on, right? So I think that's like the big takeaway I want to give you. Like before they come back, you have to have this wave thinned.
I want to thin it, but I want it to be in this spot.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
I'm 1v2.
Like if the spot is here and the moves is back. Also, if if like right now, by the way, what this Kindred is doing, Zed is base. You don't want to do this, right? You want to ping him away. It's not a good fight for you because you have this wave. If you just go, this is gonna crash. You're gonna lose CS. Amumu up just can't fight, and it's gonna be 2v3, right? This guy's gonna come. And yeah, like if you're not pushing and basing, you want to keep the wave here, and then you want to make sure it's finned when they get here. Also, if you're holding it here, also you want to ping Amumu to base immediately, right? Because he needs to get back to lane ASAP so that you can actually have pressure.
What am I doing now? I'm trying to shove it.
Yeah, you're shoving it because your Kindred
I'm
is
shoving
pinging,
it to
right?
fight. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think this fight is good. Like,
We don't fight.
yeah.
But now I'm in a weird 1v2 spot.
Yeah, now your wave is like awkward,
And it's
right?
cannon.
Yeah. So at this point, I mean, obviously waves already not where you want it to be, right? But at this point, I think if you start shoving now, it's gonna be more awkward because you start hitting, right? You start hitting, they're just gonna come and you don't have vision, right? So you don't know if they're like sitting here or not, like if they're sitting here or not, right? So it's really awkward for you. And realistically, at least Zerath is gonna come, right? They're not gonna be able to crash this. They're gonna zone you off, and this means you're gonna die faster because you already started shoving, right? So you're actually gonna lose more. So I think at this point you just don't hit. You sit like safely, right? You don't hit. If they give you a free last hit, sure, go for it, right? But otherwise, try to stay in XP range and just wait for Amumu to come back to lane, right? Um, I don't know if you agree with what I'm saying, but I think you push now, it's just gonna lose you more CS in the long run, right?
Okay.
Oh, and yeah, Amumu is like pushing vision, which is really bad. He cancels base. But I guess they're not coming to you, so the vision does end up being helpful. You can just shove it. Yeah, and now it ends up being fine that you shoved it, right? But I think, like again, I think when this is dark, Mumu should base, right? Even if this is not dark, it doesn't matter. If Zeraf is here, even if you know Ezreal's here, Zeraf is here, you can walk like this. You can't play like this, right? Yeah. And this is really awkward. I don't know. Yeah, Mumu is like staying on map with low health for really long.
Yep.
I think this recall was actually fine, by the way, because
Yeah.
now what's gonna happen is you're gonna try. Like I'm assuming you're gonna try to hide and just get XP, right? But you're sitting on like 1200 gold, which is actually quite a lot, right? You can buy boots plus longsword. So if you base with Amumu, you're gonna be on same timer as him, which means you're gonna be extra strong when you get back to fight, which means you can push this in anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it was a bad recall because now you're not gonna get a good recall time anymore because Ezreal comes off base because he died, right? So he doesn't have to base for a long time, and they can just do whatever they want with the wave. But I guess they're giving you a lot of free CS, but they could play like way more up, right, and just deny you more.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad spot now.
Yeah, and also this is like so when you're playing engage champ, this is like the hardest spot to engage for engage champ, right? The waves like this, because that means they're gonna play like in this area, which means if he engages, it's under turret and they're instantly out, basically, right? So it makes it so that your Amumu is basically useless champ if the wave's in this spot. So right now, this wave, right? This wave, if they start hitting it a bit more, it's actually gonna come to you, right? So you see Ezreal is like actively hitting the wave. If he's actively hitting the wave and you're only last hitting, the wave is actually gonna push into you, right? So at this point, you want to watch for what this Ezreal is doing with the wave. Same if Seraph obviously Qs over the wave or W's over the wave or whatever, right? If they're hitting the wave, you don't actually have to hit. Because what will happen if you both hit, I mean, the wave is going to stay like this, right? But if only he hits, it's going to push to you. So, yeah, I think here you just want to watch what he's doing and not do the others you're doing here, right? Because you basically give him the option now to still freeze, right? To fix his like to not do what he's doing. If he doesn't hit now, it's still gonna be in his side for a long time, right? If you're hitting, but because he's actively hitting, it's not gonna end up being so. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, wave coming into you. I mean, it's hard to find engage at end of wave, right? So right now you just kind of have to avoid poke and just last it. Because Mumu won't be able to engage. And if they misstep, obviously you can go.
I have a question about autoing, so go back a sec.
For sure. Till when?
No, go up more. Go further. It's just autoing minions and like.
Like here, you mean?
No. Go forward in time.
Oh, here.
Yeah, like these minions.
Mm-hmm.
When you do the whole, it's like staying in range of the minions versus walking into them. Because if I'm outside the range and they see it dying, they know where I have to walk. So do you think I should stay in range of these last hits? You can move around freely and then choose the auto when you want to.
So
versus
it just kind of depends on enemy positioning, right? Like with how far the Xerath is right now, he's not in range to like perfectly W on you and then look for Q as well, right? While Ezreal's outing, like they're not in range of you, so you're fine staying here, right? Like this amount of space between you is fine. Then you can stay like this. Let's say the Xerath walks up and stands here, right? Then obviously if you're staying where you are right now, it's just asking to be poked. So then you have to walk back a bit. But I think what you're saying is correct in the sense that if you're like this and you're in range to hit already, and they give you the space like they do now, it's good because that means it's less predictable where you're gonna be, right? When you last hit the minion, like you can move around a bit more, and you can maybe try to bait out spells as well by faking like going for a hit and then not hitting, right? Stuff like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, just do whatever they let you do.
Yeah.
I guess I have another question from when I've watched these games at least a little bit. What about like canceling your autos basically? Because I feel like I'm a little predictable when they're doing some of their skill shots and some of the all-ins. Because I'm like autoing at the same intervals, so would you ever consider basically not autoing right when it's up and waiting?
I mean, it just it like depends, right? Because obviously, if you're not all in and you're missing auto attacks, you're not doing the best DPS you can, right? Which is bad. But if you see that they're going for a skill shot on you, it's good to dodge the skill shot in favor of not autoing, right? But if the situation is they're not doing anything,
like theirs.
Right? Like I think if they're not doing anything, if they're not throwing skill shots, there's no real reason to not auto in an all in. Or do you not mean the all in? Do you mean like when you're hitting minions?
No, I mean all in.
Okay, yeah. I think just go for max DPS, and
so
then
just watch their character models really closely.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the one thing you kind of have to focus on, right? Like dodging their skill shots because you don't have any of your own. So you just want to dodge everything they're throwing. That's like the high intensity mechanic that you have to focus on, right?
You suggest just looking at enemy characters, right? Because I've learned to do that, and it's helped a lot.
Yeah, because they always have Qs when they start an ability, right? So that's what you want to look at for sure, right? Like let's see when Ezreal throws like a Q, right? Like you get like right this, right? If you see this, the Q is not flying yet, but you see him do like this, then you want to dodge it, right? So that's the spot where you would like, and also you can see the like you can see the line that it gets thrown at, right? It's like this line that is throwing it in, like the line his arm is in. So that's what you want to dodge. But that's the hard part of playing champs like Vayne, right? It's like you have to be really good at this to get the most out of your champ. Does that all make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah, nice. Okay. And I think also just to go back, just quickly focus on what's happening again. Like they're actively hitting wave, right? So when they're actively hitting wave, it's good for you to thin.
I'm trying to thin,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these hits that you're getting in is good. You're not getting poked, you're just getting hits in. It's all good. They're still hitting. Okay. Good Q as well, by the way, like finding the window to do things like this. Like they're not in range to punish you when you Q forward like this. Right? They just use spell and it's just hitting minion, so it's good. It's good by you. So here, one thing I think you can do. So obviously Amumu fucks up. He gets hit, right? This is just bad by him. You can walk up and look to E Ezreal away. Like that's kind of all you can do, right? Just E him away,
Yeah.
and it might save a Momo's flash, right?
Yeah, I probably could.
Uh,
I mean, there's a small consideration. I just full on all in.
yeah, that's what I'm looking
Right,
at.
right as he E's.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
close. I
Because
don't think
now,
so, but
I mean, I think this is like the window that you really want to look at if you're Vayne, because Zeref used all his spells just now, so he doesn't have spells ready, and Ezreal eat for it, right? So in this ult animation, if you just start whacking away at him now,
I could argue heal or
yeah,
something.
yeah. I mean, you're not saving this guy, right? But you're just looking for the
Okay.
all-in. Like when this guy like lands stun as well. Like let's go to the exact moment, right? That this guy is for it. So right now, when you see he starts ult animation, I think you can just pull the trigger and go. And I think you win this if you played well enough mechanically, right? Like if you get hit by failing the skill shots, you just kill them both in the 2v1, I think.
Yeah, I do have a lot of gold though.
I know, but
Yeah,
it's like this is
it's
like
close.
this is like the kind of
Yeah.
play where it's like if you fuck up mechanically, it's really bad. Obviously, right? You're gonna lose the cannon, you're gonna lose the casters, you're gonna lose next wave partially as well, right? Or fully even.
Yeah.
And you're gonna
Maybe if
give
I
an
had the
extra kill.
boots and longsword, I would think this is better.
But I think you have the damage to just because your champ kind of has infinite damage, right? Because you're playing Vayne, so I think you have the damage to pull this off. You just have to be confident in your mechanics to pull it off. That's kind of the thing, right? Uh, like obviously, the more consistent play is not doing it because there's nothing to fuck up about not doing it, right? Yeah. And I guess they based or what are they doing? Yeah. I mean here is just you shouldn't walk up like this, right? It's like not
There's no
too big,
reason.
but there's no reason to walk up. And realistically, they want to push this wave anyway, right? Like there's no reason for them to not want to push this wave. So you just want to avoid like taking free damage, which is this Q, right? Like you're kind of giving him both a hit on you and a hit on the wave. Yeah. And now you just collect minions. So right now you should already think, okay, what do you want to do after these minions, right? Do you want to push
Yeah,
the
I
next wave
was
or do you want to
base.
base?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
insta
yeah,
base.
yeah, yeah.
Then this guy shows up and he's gonna be sick soon, so I think it's fine to do this.
I think it's fine if you hit 6, yeah. You win the 2v2 if you
You-
hit 6. Yeah, and now just base. I think this is fine for sure. Like, they don't have really threat on you, right? And if they stay, it means they're not
It's not
spending
that
gold
good for
either,
them
right?
either.
They're
Yeah.
spending gold. They're not spending gold on 2 people, but I think you win the all-in without items, right? Okay, now you walk back to lane. Your move's fighting on the side, right? Ideally, you want to get into a scenario where it's 1v1, right? Like 2v2 or 1v1, like not 2v1.
This is good, except at least the all-in idea is decent, but then Zeros is here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
This looks really good to me.
I mean,
Just
the
queued
thing
him.
is, I think you don't have to ult here, right? Like, I think what you're doing is good in the sense that right now you get Q up, you just Q
Yeah,
forward
I for
and
sure.
start ulting, right?
Yeah.
But you don't have, like, that's the thing, you don't have flash up and you're gonna have to commit Q. So if Zeref is here, you can't dodge his W and E without, like, having to click back. But if you have to click back, you're not able to chase him down, which means you're not able to get the all-in going, right? If you have flash
Yeah.
up, it's a different story because you can flash over the Zeref spells, he's gonna be useless, and you can all-in Ezreal, and then it's really good, right? So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's good, except that you shouldn't ult, right? I think everything else, like the whole idea of taking like the trade here is good. But now you see like this is like immediately already awkward, right? Like you ult, but there's like a Zeref in your face. Like you ease away and there's a Zeref in your face. And now what, right? And now exactly what like exactly one thing happens where you have to click backwards, right, to dodge the spells, and you can't keep the lane going. And now it's like bad, right? Because or not bad, but you don't want your ult to be on cooldown. You want your ult to be up to take the lane, right?
Yeah.
And you could have gotten the same trade without ulting. Like a bit less damage, of course, but okay. And they throw their ults. Good dodges by you. Yeah. And now also just you immediately want to pot up, right?
Yeah.
It's like a small thing, but you just
Should
want to
be.
be healthy instantly, so your Amumu can look like instantly for Dalin, right? Because obviously if he hits like a good Dalin, even if you are low and have no ult, you can still kill them, right? Oh.
He does look.
Yeah, it's just a free kill. It's good. Like right here. Let's see. I think first of all, this is kind of an awkward base spot. Just in general, against poke champs, you don't want to be in between tower and wall because you can't dodge left or right, right? You don't have like space to dodge. So
Be on
I
other side
think
of the tower in the
if you
middle.
base, you want to base here or like maybe here so you can't hit you and wave. Maybe a bit more here if you really want to be safe on the base, right? And then yeah, obviously when he walks up, like Ezreal walks away, Zeref walks up. Now Momu's allowed to look, right? I think if you instead of walking like this, if you walk like this,
Yeah, I should.
you don't or like Amumu doesn't have to ult, right? And then like the recall channel, of course, but don't have to talk about that. Right. Now what do we want to do with wave?
I'm shoving right now.
Like I mean, right after we kill him, right? Like right now we have the decision what we want to do.
Yeah, I think he wants to clear and we do too.
Yeah. I think so. I think you just want to clear, like you said. You have static, right? The only thing is, a moment you are low, so you have to be careful of
But I
him
have
looking for the
heal.
2-for-1 line. You have heal, right? So as long as you're playing with your minions and he doesn't get the Q, all you have to watch out for is W, because if you can hit W, E, Q on you, you're dead, right? But if you can dodge like W and you're playing your minions, he can't Q, you can just clear the wave and back off, right? So right now you just want to clear wave. So this is all fine. Yeah, and now I think you just walk away. Like,
yeah, I got hit.
Yeah, but before you get hit, I mean, right now, like, if we ignore this hit, even, I think you just walk away. You just want to look for the reset,
leave, yeah.
right? Because
we're not killing him ever.
yeah, Amumu has no ult, so even if he hits Q, this guy E buffers it, Amumu is just gonna end up dying, right? And you can't kill him. And there's also no way for him to freeze or anything, right? There's nothing for him to do. So it's just a bit of time waste if you look for fight instead of base. Yep. And now this recall is fine, right? All you have to do is make sure he's not able to cancel you with Q if you recall. He has no ult, right? So this is good. This is good. Yeah. And now you just want to run back. That's all. Okay. So this guy's greeting, right? This guy's greeting. What does that mean? As in, not
We
what does
wanna
it
get-
mean like is anyone minding, but like what does it mean for Ezreal's stamp on the map?
Well, he has to probably base soon, and I'm thinking to get plates because he got plates, but he got plates only because he delayed his back.
Yeah, exactly right. So we want to punish him for being greedy, and the way you punish it is like either so you just want to push, right? You just want to make sure you shove, and either he's gonna stay, which means he's gonna be lower resources and he doesn't get to spend his gold, which is good, or he's gonna base and you can hit dirt, which is good, right? So that's how we punish. Like he should have
Yeah.
based right here, right? He shouldn't greed for this plate. This bad by him. So yeah, and that's already
Well,
like you can already
yeah.
think about it, right? Like when you walk into lane, you can already realize what you want to do. So yeah, right now, what do we want to do with the wave? Again, it's kind of repetition, right? But what do we want to do with the wave?
Well, I do have static, so it's almost gonna shove no matter what.
Yeah,
But I would probably shove anyway because
Yeah,
he's stuck
exactly.
in lane.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
there's
You want to
dragon
make him
too.
stuck in lane, right? So you want to shove the wave, exactly. So now all we want to do is click up, right? Click up and
What do
clear
you
these
think
minions.
about sometimes when you shove the wave though too quick, it actually lets them get a free base off.
Yeah, that is true. That is true, right?
If you shove Q too quick.
I think right now, if he's able to instantly clear next wave, what you're saying is true, right? But what we want to do is we want to like not fully clear the wave, want to thin this wave and then threaten them so they can't freely hit wave, right? And if they can't hit wave, they're not gonna get the base off. So yeah, what you're saying is actually right. Like
We
it's a
should
good.
ping a Mumu to
it's a
the
good-
middle bush, probably.
Yeah, he just has
Right.
to send wherever he can find the engage, right? Like all he has to do is threaten, right? All he has to do is threaten. He doesn't have to find the engage right now. So yeah, now especially now, right? Xerath just used Q. If a Mumu's walking up now, Ezreal has to walk away, right?
Yeah.
And same for you. When a Mumu is walking up, you want to make sure you're able to follow, right? You want to make sure he's not on his own. Did you find it?
I
No.
need by Q. Yeah.
Okay. Let's watch this. Let's watch this because this is like actually.
I've had that happen a couple times with my E. It knocks some people out of. That's just a bad dodge, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, here's two things, right? So first thing is kind of the same concept where I think like you're looking to all in Ezreal, but he's still really high health. He has E up and is quite close to his tower, right? So right now, forcing him base is like, sure, you can force him base, but he needs to base anyway, right? It's not really you adding anything extra, like on like, oh, he just based and I want to force him back and he gets to buy nothing, right? He has to base anyway, right? You already have the advantage. So I think getting a trade is good, right? Like this guy's 2-4 up, what you're going is good. You have Q to dodge, right? But I think all you have to do is like not use your ult, just dodge the Ezreal Q here, and then run up and hit him. And he has to E out anyway, right? He has to E out anyway. Because you're gonna kill him no matter what, because you have so much movement speed advantage. You have boots and you have passive, right? So without ult, you can already force him to E away. And then obviously you can look with your E onto the Kassadin, right? Because Kassadin is like in this bush. And then you also don't really need ult to kill Kassadin, right? Like if you stun into Mumu stun, you don't need ult to kill. And you can save your ult. And then yeah, here is like you take the wrong angle, right? Or not the wrong angle, but yeah, kind of wrong angle. You E too late, basically, right? Like you get hit by this Ezreal Q. That's like the first thing, right? You get hit by the Q, which is bad, right, for the all-in. And then now you just, what I think is you just E him here, right? Like you instantly E. That's the first thing you do.
Yeah.
Or like you dodge this with, actually you dodge this with Q and then E him, right? Like you dodge down with Q and E him, right? All you have to do is E this guy.
Yeah, I think I tried to just auto E instead.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, right? Like right here, what you're doing is good. Like so, because you play against a lot of skill shots, and you're playing ADC, you have a lot to watch out for, right? If you had not gotten hit by the first Ezreal Q, he wouldn't have Q right now.
He'd be useless, yeah.
Right? He'd be useless. And all you have to focus on is Xerath using E from the bush. The moment Xerath misses E, you can just stun him into wall, and he's guaranteed dead. Right? He's guaranteed dead. But now, yeah, you do like auto, and then the moment you E, the angle is like bad, right? You can see the angle is like not a stun anymore. And now the lane turns from like really good into bad, right? Because suddenly you're like, oh, well, I guess that guy just ints. That's nice. But now you're really low when you're the poke lane, which means it's hard for you to get the lane, which means they should be able to shove the wave out and take the base, which means you end up not punishing the Ezreal for like his bad greed on the plate, right? Let's quickly take a look at this.
I'm just looking for skill shots, and then he's not throwing anything.
Mm-hmm.
That might not have hit me, but
I mean, probably wouldn't have hit, but it's like in the moment flash, right? It's like fine. You just flash to dodge it. I'm just looking at afterwards. Yeah, I think here.
Yeah, I'm clicking back into the wave.
Yeah, like you're clicking here, but I think you can like the wave is kind of if like his Q angle is like this, right? So if you click like
yeah,
this,
but he has autos. He's like two autos kill me almost.
I know. But look at how close a Mumu is, and he has like he needs to hit W auto, right? I think to kill you. I think you're able to just play here
Okay.
play a bit more greedy, right? And then
Yeah,
you
I
get
don't
this
know.
kill with Triumph as well, right? Because you're running Triumph, so you get this kill with Triumph as well. Look at how much health you have here. This is the health he has to burn
I
through,
just
right?
can't. Yeah, I just can't get hit by Qs,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'll
If
be
you
fine.
don't get hit by Q, you kill him, right? And then you end up killing him anyway. But I think you could have played like a bit more up, like you clicked a bit more
Yeah.
back than you had to, right? Like this click, this the click that could be like if you click towards here, right? It's the same effect in terms of standing in wave, and then you can ult him already, right? And it's a bit better. And then I guess you get TP'd on.
Mm, yeah. Maybe could have ran the other way with the Mumu. I like canceled my auto. Something weird happened.
Okay,
Yeah, I
let's
like
see this.
canceled an auto there.
Yeah, I mean here it's like you instantly have to
I
run
don't know.
away if you want to live, right? And then I think running up is fine, but you have to commit on running like this, right? If you want to run up. It's like awkward. It's like awkward. But yeah, you have to like, I think you queue like this and just E him away, right? The one thing you have to avoid is him being able to E on you, because then he gets a dash extra. I think the moment you have E, you just want to run up and you want to E him away, and then he can't get E on you. I think that's how you live the best. Because killing him is
Yeah.
like really hard, right? Because he
I
needs to
probably
tap you
committed to
once and you're
kill
dead.
him, but that
Yeah,
did not work at all.
yeah, yeah. Oh shit, I clicked.
We also should maybe speed up a bit.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. I mean, this is like laning is what takes the longest. I just
Yeah, I
misclicked
know.
like an idiot. But yeah, I think it's just run up and then E him out, right? Try to not give him the ENU and just try to live. Yeah, I'll just
Oh,
put it 2 times speed now.
my Zed did some really crazy.
Okay.
I don't think he plays Zed.
Yeah. I mean, this is all like, oh, what the fuck?
I'm just trying not to get poked.
Yeah, I mean, this is all like standard stuff. You just have to clear wave, right? Oh, okay. I mean, not much to see there as well. Amumu finds a good engage, right? Oh, yeah, this as well. Let's see. Only thing here is I think you can. So I think here you can take aggro, right? Like you can just ping him up. You can take aggro by stunning him into wall, and then Amumu stun is guaranteed as well. And then he doesn't die, and I think you can get out as well, right? And then you trade like 1 for 0.
I'd have to. I feel like I'd have to walk to the other side of the turret though before I do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You just okay. So right
I
here,
can't.
right now, this is down, right? You just walk like this, right? Like if you're here and you E him, he's gonna be stunned. And when we hit stun, you kill him. You walk out like this. You don't die, right? And then your Mumu doesn't
I
die, and
take
it's like
aggro
1
the
for
whole
0.
time.
You just start by taking aggro, yeah, yeah, and then you kill him. Like just
Okay.
watch how quickly you kill him, right? Like just watch how quickly this guy dies.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
you're probably
three
right.
shots. 3 shots Amumu takes. You for sure live 3 shots, right? Even if he hits you with like Q. And then obviously Mumu doesn't die. Okay, I guess Fatal is here. I mean, you just want to clear wave, right? And then base. Okay. Okay. Some crazy gaming by Fiddle.
Yeah. This happens a couple times.
I mean, yeah, this is just like here. The only thing I can say is this guy is like walking up in a 2v1 when he has nothing to farm. So it's like, what is he doing, right? So this could be like a red flag, like okay, someone is behind him, right? That's the only thing I can say. But from that, this Fiddle engage is like only Fiddle that can do this, right? There's no other champ that can do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like the only thing, right? Like he's walking up, kind of giving away that Fiddle is here. But ideally, we are not the one in the side lane anyway. We have like Z Sign, right, that want to be side lane. So we want to find a window where we can swap to mid, which
Yeah,
can be
after
like you
this.
push this.
But then they
push
died
this.
mid, so then I think
Yeah.
I think it's right to go tower and everything.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm just watching back, like maybe where there was like a window before, right? It's like right here is the window. If Z base is now, then you can run mid, right? This would be the window where you swap.
Yeah, he
So
doesn't.
this is like the window where you could call like, hey, I want to go mid because you know this tower is gonna go down anyway, right?
Is it that big of a deal? There's bot
Um,
tower gold though.
I
That's
mean, yeah. The thing is
that's
just you exert a lot of pressure if you're on mid with static and with a Mumu, and now you're not gonna be involved in the plays at all. And like, look, you're 6-2, right? You're quite strong, but if you're on bot, you're doing basically nothing to progress the game in your favor, right? All you're doing is just farming up yourself, which you can also do on mid.
the only thing we can do mid is shove and get like vision and roam to sides and stuff.
Yeah,
in
but
my
that's like
mind.
that's already a lot. Like that's basically the whole essence of League in mid game. Is like you play around mid, you play for vision, and you use that vision to move and get stuff done, right? Um, and if you're not the one on mid, that means you're not the one that's actually influencing the game, right? So your control in this game is going to be lower if you're on side lane at this point.
Yeah. Based on what's happened, I should just go bot because that's still sitting mid. with
Yeah,
full health.
that's what I'm saying. I'm watching if there's
Yeah.
a window, and this is like the only window I can find where this is where normally if you base here, right, you can call, yo, I want to be mid, and what will then happen is, okay, Kiana will get prio on one wave, and then afterwards, when you're back on map, you have prio again, right, on mid, and you're actually in a spot to influence the game, and Zed can just catch bot wave, push in, and he also obviously is a strong side laner, right? He's playing Zed, so he's fine in 1v1s. But now after this point, yeah, like here you have to run bot, otherwise you get no farm. Only thing is, I don't think Momo has to be here, right? So you could ping him away. It's kind of useless that he's here. And this shit, stuff happens. And then yeah, here it's again like if you're not running to side, you're not getting farm, right? And you really want to get farm. So this is all fine. And then the down mid, you want to take third, that's fine. And now you just base, and this is like the time where you want to go mid, right? Now is like another time you just swap to mid. Yeah, which you do, which is good. It's good.
What do you think about plates and the full turret going down gold with the support letting you have it? You think that's always a good thing, or
I mean, it
sometimes?
depends. I think usually it's good. Yeah, it kind of depends on what support you have. If you like a very supportive support, usually it's really
There's Sona.
strong.
It's good for them to have it, but
Yeah, if it's like Sona, Lulu, Yumi, what else is there? Like basically anything that's like Enchanter, right? That's gonna make you stronger by being stronger. Nami, right? Those things, it's fine to let share. And then if you're able to get solo gold and you have like melee sub, it's like, yeah, go for it. They don't really care that much about first item, right? Especially if they're buying boots first item, then they're delaying first item even more. And gold on you is really good, right? So I think getting solo gold on plates is really good whenever possible, but it's not always possible, of course, right? Right. Let's watch this fight. If anything even happens that you can do anything about in this fight.
should I keep RQing like I do, or is that bad?
I mean, it depends. I think in this situation it's fine, but sometimes you don't want to. Like sometimes you already want to R for the extra damage, but you don't want your Q to be on cooldown because you need to dodge something with it, right? In those cases, you can just R, hit for the damage and reset, and then Q whenever you need it, right? But here it's like, I think already the moment this guy. Okay, let's watch Fiddle.
So I saw by the corner of my eye, so I was walking up there.
Like like basically the moment Fiddle has no fear, you're able to go in onto him, right, with RQ, because then there's no threat on you and you kill him really fast, right? So right here, now you can't yet. Right now you can't because he has fear up. Then I think this click is kind of bad because you want to be in range to follow up on your tank, right? Like he's actively tanking, they're actively hitting him, right? you just want to walk up and be in range to hit. This is like really important, right? This is like the positioning thing. You want to like basically be here to be able to hit as soon as possible, right? The moment Fiddle fucks up and uses fear, you can go. Yeah, and now his fear is on cooldown, and you're in range, and just hit, which is good, right? I think this RQ in is like fine at this point, right? Because he has to do something. He's just gonna die if he doesn't. And if he fears you, it means he's not fearing anyone else, and there's also no threat on you when the fear comes in, right? Okay, this is fine. I mean, it could be a bit cleaner, right? But the idea of what you're doing is good.
What, just with the better, more,
I mean, you cancel
focus
like right here. You cancel like an auto in this, like here, that auto, right? You cancel it. That's what I mean. Could be a bit cleaner, but the idea of going on Ezreal here is good, right? Actually, let's watch. Let's just watch the clicks real quick, because you just want to click forward, right? Like this click. I don't think you have to do. I think this click should be forward still.
It's
Because
just a spacing click, but I guess I don't need it.
yeah, exactly. There's no threat on you, right? The threat on you would have been Fiddle Fair into follow up. But Fair is down and they aren't able to follow up at all, right? Even if you stand here, it's like these guys are never gonna kill you. If they sit around, hit you, try, then you can do like a Q to dodge and your team follows up and they're dead, right? So here you just click forward only. And then yeah, like obviously the one auto cancel is like makes it a bit less clean, but it's like good, right? And then here there is a spacing thing, right? Now you can hit and click like here, right? Or like Q, right? To not give him the Q Gore Drinker proc.
Yeah.
Because not only does it heal him, it damages you a bit as well, right?
So I should always be moving when I'm autoing.
Typically speaking, yeah. You should always be looking to. It's just a good habit to have. But the only thing is you don't want to move, right? If you don't want to move away, you want to move sideways, like in the sense that you keep the same distance, right? It just makes it harder for people to hit you, right? If you're on a move. And here you space him a bit more, right? Don't give him the thing. And then when you see this Kiana, right? You can turn on Kiana as well. You can like stand here, auto E, try to slam him into wall, right? That's how you could kill. Maybe, right? Maybe. And then the same for when he, like, let me just quickly look at this. Yeah. I guess you try to dodge the Q, right? But here, yeah, it's like whatever. I think you could look to maybe Q like this, get the kill, but then you could also look to R and U and tap U, right? So I think it's fine what you did. And then obviously when he is out of range, like right now, you don't want to chase anymore, right? You don't want to chase anymore. Because you're not going to get in range to hit. Your Q is going to be on cooldown.
Yep. I foresee her too hard. And then I'm not in range of the R.
Yeah. I mean, this is just you over chasing on your own when you don't have the capabilities, right? That's the only thing. Apart from that, I think the fight was like pretty good. Okay. And then our team takes this, and they should base. Oh, I guess the replay is like lagging again. They should base for Dragon, right? Dragon in 20 seconds if they need it. If they don't need it, they don't want to go topside, right? And you just want to run straight Drake. Because this is really big Drake to contest. It's like third Drake, you need to be there. Okay, so we get here. And already now, you can already think about how you want to use Blue Trinket, right? Like you can already use Blue Trinket here to give immediate vision to your team. So they know what's going on, right? Or alternatively, you do it here, or wherever you think Fiddle might be, right? Just spot them out. And then hitting this plan is fine as well. And also, like, ideally you want your team to drag out Drake, right? So if you see, like right here, they didn't drag out Drake. If you saw they weren't dragging out Drake when you were walking, you could maybe ping them, like drag it out, right? And then if they don't, it's like you can't influence it more, right? All right, let's watch this fight. Yeah. I mean, here again, right? It's just you could like I don't know how to explain it. You could just be a bit faster with like you take a bit longer on the autos than you have to, basically, right? But it's nothing like you just have to get more used to it. You just have to get better at it, right? Like the more you do it, the better you will get at it. At like kiting, right? Here the main thing I would say is like target choice. I think like this extra auto on Fiddle is really greedy, right? Look at how close Renekton is, and look at how close Ezreal is to you. Like, why is Ezreal even looking to hit Sion? He can just look to hit you, right? At this point, because he has Renekton in front,
hitting at all.
right? Sorry.
Oh, I should be hitting. So I should be hitting Renekton then.
Yeah. You should just hit like right now. Right now, you should already kite back and hit Renekton, right? You just want to be max range hitting Renekton, or alternatively, you could even look to go on Ezreal, right? Like you're playing Vayne. It's like kind of the one thing she really excels at is fights like this where you can show like your team fighting capabilities, right? Where you could maybe look for like a Q like this, walk a bit up, and then slam him into wall with E and like get a really big chunk, and that can win the fight, right? Like right now, right? If you Q like up and go on Ezreal, it could be good, right? It could be really good. It just it's a lot of like small things that you can do on Vayne that are like could be really good for fights. And then yeah, this is just like
another max range.
Yeah.
He's out of vision too. It's kind of
I mean, this is just one more thing where it's like when you're playing ADC, kind of the thing you have to think about is like, are you gonna get like what are the threats on you, right? And in this fight, Renekton is a big threat to you, right? Obviously, right in the beginning. Like if we go back a bit, like when you arrive here, like Fiddle already used his things. He's not a threat, right? Ezreal is not really in range. He's not really a threat, right? Renekton is like the main threat, so you have to kite away from Renekton, right? And then afterwards here, it's like you need to have the spatial awareness of where people are, and Xerath is not showing anywhere, so it's like you kind of need the intuition. Okay, maybe Xerath is there, right? And that's why this is like obviously bad, right? But yeah, I don't blame you for not knowing. It's just you kind of need to have like good intuition there. Okay, and now game is gonna be really hard, obviously, because they have
all the CC right in the middle of the fights.
Yeah. I mean that's what makes ADC hard to play, right? Because like the meme of like, oh, you just do right click. It's kind of true in the sense that you don't have to hit anything, right? But you need to be super careful because anything that hits you can mean that you die, right? And that can mean you lose the fight. So you just like a good exercise, I would say, when going into a fight, like before the fight, like when you're in a game, is just think about what are the threats on me, right? And just focus on those things in the fight. Like let's say they have Ahri, right? Oh, watch out for Ahri Charm. This game, watch out for Xerath, watch out for Fiddledilt, watch out for Kiana engage, right? That's like the things that can screw you over. That's what you have to think of. And then if none of these things hit you, and you are hitting, you will win the fight, right? That's kind of how your role works.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, now game is like really hard, right? Because they have 3 Drakes, and I mean honestly, your champ is not the best here, right? Either because Fiddle is pretty good against you, and if it's not like kind of a scrappy fight, Ezreal and Xerath can actually poke you out because you have low range, right?
Yeah, I'm like flipping here, basically, I think.
Yeah, here it's like, I mean, let's see.
Yeah, her grass is too stupid.
Yeah, here you instantly have to get, like, the only way I think you kill here is if you Q and then E her instantly into the wall. And then you kill her with third vision still, right? Obviously she can outplay it by Wing away and then nothing happens, you just run away. You just give turret, right? But this is like not really a turret that you can defend. Which is also why this goes wrong, right? Like, it's not a fair 1v1.
Yeah.
And then you die.
It's a desperation. Yeah. I'm thinking we're gonna lose.
Yeah. I mean, you are losing at this point, right? The only way you come back is like, I mean, that's the thing with solo queue. If you play fundamentally really properly, right? If you do all the fundamental things correct, enemies are gonna mess up in solo queue, right? Which means there will be windows to come back, like not in every game, but in some games, which means you can lose. Like a game like this can turn from a loss into a win if you just play your fundamentals correct, right? Even though your team is obviously not doing anything to carry. it might mean you do end up winning, right? But at this point, it is like at this point, you just have to hope that the enemy fucks up, right? So all you can do is try to play the way you should. Maybe look for cheese things, right? Like the one you looked on top is probably not it, right? But look for a bit more alternative plays and then just try to find mistakes in enemy play, right? I mean, everyone's just chain dying on it. Is there anything you still like really want to look at on the FUT? Like maybe watch back. Otherwise, I'll just go. Like I don't know if there's like a last team fight that we can go over.
No, I just get fiddle ulted.
Yeah.
I tried to get just a Q try for static proc,
Yeah.
but he like preemptively did the ult there. It was, guess a good ult by him.
I mean, I think yes. I think
the
yes.
second I Q in,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Fiddle probably has flash up as well. So what he wanted to do is like ult flash on you and fear, right? And then you walk into range and he doesn't have to end up doing it. But yeah, the only thing you can do is like, oh, you can blue ward like down here, see if he's there, and then go over the play, right? But it's like the game is completely lost, right? You die in the end the game, I think, right? Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything you want to like rewatch specifically?
No.
Right. Then I'll just quickly recap. So, I mean, the first thing was really this, right? Where this cheese is when you're playing a lane like this into double range, it's good, right? It can mean you can get control on the wave, which cheese goes well, right? You end up getting control on the wave. But here, you could have played like more aggro, right? You kind of give up control of the wave again for no reason. Like they don't force this out of you, right? So I think you could have played more aggro here, and then you can snowball the lane, right? With the early mistake they make. And then the thing on like calling for the gank, right? Like the predictable wave states. This is like a really predictable wave state. You know exactly what's gonna happen, so you can already think ahead. Think, okay, what do I want to do on that wave state? And this wave state, it could be like a gank, right? So just call your team for it. And then I think apart from that, it was like mostly mechanical things, right? That we looked at. See, it's like this all in a bit, right? Or yeah, it was this as well, right? Here maybe you could take all in, but yeah, it's mostly mechanical things apart from that. So yeah, I mean, if there's nothing else to look at, I would say that's it for the VOD review. Sorry if it took a bit long. It's like something I have to work on. Like I get stuck on some things too much to get like into detail. So sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
All right.
I do have a bunch of other like more random questions.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was gonna ask if you have any more questions, so go ahead for sure.
Let's see. What about wording as ADC or like bind control words? How often should I do that?
So I mean, I purposely didn't really touch too much on words because I don't want to make like it all over the place, right? But basically, as for pink wards, if you have a plan as to why you want to use the pink ward, it's good, right? Pink wards are obviously like a strong tool in League. Vision is really strong. Denying Vision is also really good because of it. But don't buy pink wards if you don't know what you're gonna do with the pink ward, because then it's just gonna end up being wasted gold, right? So personally, I tend to not buy a lot of pinks as solo queue, like maybe one or two, because I really want to get to my items faster, right? Let's say you need a pink ward to set up a gank, then it's good, right? Or like a team, like a pink ward to set up like mid game or like in a team fight against Viego or whatever the reason, right? If you have a reason, it's good. Otherwise, I say don't buy pink ward. Like if you don't know why you're buying it, don't buy it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. It's also like the times that I should leave lane to go ward, but this game wasn't that much of a problem.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of like that's just kind of game dependent, right? When you get a timer to ward, I mean, a good example is like when you're crashing a big wave, you have a lot of time that you can spend on something, right? So that could be timers where you find yourself, okay, I don't really want to poke because maybe I could get ganked, or you can't poke. Then you can go for like a ward, right? Or if you are getting slow pushed in, you can also maybe go for ward because you're getting slow pushed in anyway, right? It's just about finding the timers, and obviously this game you got pushed in most of the game, or you were fighting, right? One of the two, because the lane you're playing, so you don't really have time to go and ward, right? But yeah, I would say just ward whenever you can, get a good ward in, and then I think a like really important thing is like be smart about why you ward, because oftentimes if you just use your ward in a dumb way, let's say you're like, okay, I feel like I kind of want to have vision, and then in a bush, right, in a lane bush, where you're pushing up anyway, and then enemies weren't gonna play the bush anyway, then you wasted your vision, and you can get into trouble later on because you don't have a ward, right?
Yeah.
So just try to actively think like when you ward, what you want to achieve with the ward. But it's like honestly, it's like in solo queue sometimes I also just autopilot my wards, right? Because I'm not like thinking about it. I'm thinking about other stuff. So don't be too worried about it if it goes wrong. But I'd say yeah, that's how you want to like kind of approach warding. Do you have other questions still?
Yep. What about like camera control and lock
Mm-hmm.
cam?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any opinions?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the most important thing with camera control is when you're not actually in fights or doing anything, you want to watch around the map, right, to get info. That's like when you want to avoid looking at your own character. Or when you're in lane, you want to avoid like having spots where you're seeing like not seeing a lot. I'll just use like this screen as an example, right? Let's say the minion wave is like right here, right? Then all of this side of the lane kind of doesn't matter, right? If the minion wave is like
Yeah.
right here. So in spots like these, instead of having you like, let's say this was your camera, just hypothetically, right? You could have your camera more towards like the other side, right? That's like a big fun, I think. And then as for team fights, I would say it's really up to preference, like how you like what you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable playing like locked screen in team fights on champions like Vayne, I know a lot of people do play locked screen, right? During
Yeah.
fights, that's really normal. If you're not comfortable playing locked screen, just make sure you actually have your camera like on a relevant spot, right? And as long as you have that, then it's fine, right? It's just what you find like a nice way to have your camera in team fights, I would say.
What about so when I feel like I'm playing good and like in team fights,
Mm-hmm.
I'm normally glancing at the mini map every like 2 seconds. Is that something that like you do or you suggest
You
doing?
mean during the team fight?
Yeah, to know where everyone is.
I mean, it's
It's kind of hard
fine.
up.
Like I said, I think it's fine. Like the most important thing is knowing where enemies are, and then being aware what the threats are on you, right? So I don't think I really look at the team fight that much during fights, but it's all up to like what you like, right? Like I personally, I kind of like I know before I enter a team fight, I try to know where everyone is, right, or where they can be, and then during the fight, I already have that in my mind, and I kind of know, right, by feeling where like enemies are gonna be, if that makes sense, right? Because I already knew beforehand. So I'm like, okay, this side, there's this champ, right? Let's say they have like a LeBlanc that can jump the wall. I don't have to look at the minimap because I already know, okay, LeBlanc can jump that wall, right? But again, if it works for you, it works, right? It's all fine. Like it doesn't really matter as long as it gets the job done, right?
Okay.
Anything
Uh,
else?
yeah. What about
Yeah.
target champs only? Because I use it a lot this game, especially like
Mm-hmm.
on champs like Vayne.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing again, right? Where I don't use it because I use attack move on my hits,
Yeah, I do too.
and attack move
It is
actually
good.
screws with like target champs only.
Yeah, so you have to swap between them, but
Yeah, but like I'm not using it because I think it's bad. I'm not using it because I never learned how to, and it like fucks with how I normally play, right? But if it works for you, just do it. Like, it's a good feature,
Okay.
right? Like, if you're diving and you're able to properly click on enemy with a tech move, yeah, it's good. Just do it. There's no reason not to, right?
Okay. What about some supports who kind of like do nothing? So say I pick Vayne, but then they pick Thresh or Janna.
Mm-hmm.
It feels really bad sometimes on what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, that's like
You
the
just try
thing.
to
Okay,
you
so
skip farm and try to.
yeah, basically. I mean, trash is like a flip. If they hit a lot of hooks, it's good. If they don't, it's like useless, right? Um, but yeah, there's this thing in solo queue where like basically you have like the holy trinity of useless supports, which is like Yumi, Sona, Jenna, where 95% of the people that pick those gems pick them and then basically don't do anything, right? And it's just something you have to deal with as ADC. Like every high elo ADC I know hates playing with like Jenna, Sona, Yubi players. Like it's legit just something that comes with the role, right? You can't do anything about it. And yeah, you just want to play your game as well as possible, right? When you have like a really bad support, what you want to do is try to just stay on curve with farm and items, so that maybe later on in the fight you can pop off and get fed, right? That's kind of all you can do.
Okay, makes sense. And then so this is a Zaya question.
Mm-hmm.
Say I'm playing Zaya, and I'm autoing them, and I'm like kind of running forward, but
Mm-hmm.
then they're kiting to the side. All my feathers are in the wrong spot. So what do you do about something like that?
I mean, there's basically two things to that question. First one is that Zaya is not the best at running in, right? Because of the exact issue you're saying, right? They will run out of your feathers. So, and you're low range. So it's like she's not the best champ at running like into enemies and fighting.
Yeah, you want them to come into you.
Yeah. And then the other thing is just like there's no real trick. It's all about just how you position your feathers. Like it's a really big one, right? On Zaya, when you're playing, you have to think about how you want to position your feathers. So an example, I just used this screen again that we're on. Let's say you're playing Zaya, and this is you, right? This is you, Zaya, and this is like the enemy champ, right? What you can do instead of standing where you are now and throwing your feathers like this, right? Or I'll do it a bit differently actually. Let's say this is you, this is the enemy, right? Um, Instead of standing where you are now and throwing feathers like this, they're gonna end up here. He has like this spot to dodge and this spot to dodge, right? Instead of doing it like this, you can actually reposition a bit and throw your feathers like more like this, so he doesn't have the wall to dodge, right? Just as an example. And then all he can do is dodge down to dodge the feathers, right? Which is harder because then he also kind of dodges into you, right? So it's you just have to actively think like how you want to position your feathers, even in like even in like a spot like this or like in team fights. I mean, sorry, even in team fights, like it's hard to think about, but you just have to think about that shit. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I just had one of my games had that, and I was like, "What in the world do I do?"
Yeah. I mean, that's what is kind of the hardest mechanic on Zaya, like your feather placement. I don't know if you've watched pro play before.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I don't know if you remember like when Perks was like ADC, right?
Oh, not that long
That long.
ago.
Okay, yeah, fair. That's like in 2019, I think. But basically, that's like his Zaya was like known as like he was known as like this best Zaya in the world. It was because he was really good at this specific thing. Like he always had his feathers in like a really good spot, right? Um, so yeah, that's kind of how you want to play. Just always have to think about it, but it's hard. It's hard.
Okay. Uh, Final question would be like your opinion on how my mechanics were, and because I'm trying to get GM or
Mhm.
Chow, obviously, eventually.
Mhm.
Um, and if I spam like Kaisa or something I was good at, I could probably get pretty close right now, I
Mhm.
think. But what would I need to work on, or things
Um,
like that, or how good do you think it was
I mean, I
compared
okay.
to where I
So
need to be?
I think there's like okay. So there's like if I go to your OPGG, right? There's like two things that you can really do. So one of them is like outside of the game itself, is like keeping a small champion pool and having like a good blind pick and a good counter pick is really good to solo queue, because you can always, if you have to blind, you just pick your blind pick, right? And you will always have a good impact. And if you get counter pick, you can pick your counter pick and you can carry the game, right?
Yeah,
So
I do patch to patch, but this feels like it changes so much.
yeah, I mean it kind of does, right? That's why you need to be able to play more champs. But even like, just an example, right? Zaya right now in solo queue is like, in theory she's not a good blind, but realistically so she's a pretty good blind pick, right? Because most of the times people will pick champs that want to fight and go in, right? Let's say Zaya gets nerfed. If you're really good at Zaya, even if it gets nerfed, it's still gonna be a fine blind pick, right? Because of the exact reason. And then another thing is like, if you obviously, if you have like 3 or 4 champions that you play only, you're gonna be more proficient at those champs, which means you're gonna be able to perform better, right? And then as for in-game, I always say like the most important thing at improving is like playing with intent. Because if you have an idea of why you do something, even if it's like the worst idea ever, you're gonna like find out, okay, well, it doesn't work, and then you're gonna be able to figure out why it doesn't work, right? And you're gonna be able to improve. Whereas if you just play and you don't know why you're doing things, you just do things, even if it's like the most insane play ever, you're not gonna realize why, and you're not gonna learn from it, right? Uh, so yeah, I would say that's like the 2 big things, right? As for like immediate practice, I mean, it's hard to tell from one game what you're really like consistently doing wrong, right? Like we went kind of over the things in this game, so you can like rewatch it, maybe see if you repeat the mistakes and work on those, right? But I can't really tell it for you, sadly, like with just
Okay.
one game watched, obviously. Does that answer the question, or is there like
Yeah,
anything else?
so what's stopping me from climbing is more
Okay, so
decision making and like some laning things, like not being in the bush or
yeah, I mean,
things like
it's
that,
like
more than mechanics is what
I
I'm
think,
asking, I
okay,
guess.
yeah, I think a big one, like last game, like or not last game, the game we reviewed, there were some things that you could have done better that would influence the way the game goes, right? So for sure, like there's in-game stuff that's holding you back, but another big one I would say is like you're playing Vayne, which is not necessarily like, I think Vayne is really good in lower elos, right? Because you can always just mechanically outplay your opponents, and it's not the hardest champion to pilot, right? Um, but as you're climbing higher, you will face more lanes that make it more difficult. In this game, obviously, you got fed, and then you ended up not being able to carry the game, right? Um, but I would say Vayne is not the best blind, right? I think there's better champs to have a consistent impact in solo queue, which is like the most important thing, right? Consistency. Um, so yeah, I would say it's like a combination of like the champs you play. Like obviously you also have like a lot of Ezreal games in your history, which you said you weren't
My
really.
20% win rate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know why exactly, right? But Ezreal is like one of the hardest ADCs in the
Yeah.
game,
It's
right?
hard.
So you can
It makes me
play.
a lot better at the game, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
win with it.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can play way better than your enemy and still not carry because you're not playing well enough to carry with Ezreal, right? Um, and then the enemy will like, especially if he's like playing Jhin and you're playing Ezreal, he doesn't have to do jack shit. He's playing Jhin, right? And you have to do a lot because you're playing Ezreal. Um, so yeah, I think it's like kind of the champs you're playing, like to carry with Vayne. I mean the builds as well that we talked about, right? I think defaulting to the same build every game is not the best. Like you kind of want to think about what build you want in which game, and then yeah, I would say just the champion pool is not the easiest to climb with, right? It's not impossible, but it requires you to play better than it would if you were playing like easier champs. Like let's say you are playing MF every game, right?
Yeah.
And then apart from that, I don't know exactly. Like there's probably tons of little things that you can do better, right? But that's the case for everyone. Like you can always look for those and always try to improve on those. Like I would say, like if I'm looking at your champ pool, like Kaisa, in my opinion, in solo queue is kind of a better Vayne,
Oh yeah, I know.
right? So and then
I just don't think I'm getting that much better because I already know I'm pretty good at her.
yeah. And
I
that's the
can't
thing,
just
right?
have
Like
one champ.
if your goal is getting good and you feel like you're not really learning anything with Kai'Sa, which makes sense because she kind of cheats certain things, right?
Yeah, a lot of
Then
things.
yeah, it's good, right? If your goal is to climb, then I would say just stick to playing like Kai'Sa, Zaya mostly because they're really good in solo queue right now, right?
Yeah, those would be my two opinions too of the best champs.
Yeah, I would say that's like the main thing that you can do to try and try and climb harder. All right. Is there
Okay,
anything more? Or
that's all I have.
all right, all right. It's good, by the way, that you have like questions prepared. It's really good. But yeah. All right, then I would like to thank you for the coaching session. Um, I hope you enjoyed it as well. I will be uploading the VOD to YouTube and then just sending it to you whenever it's uploaded. You can just like rewatch whenever, right? You know how it goes.
Yeah, I just randomly saw you unrecommended in Twitter.
Nice, nice.
Or yeah, on
um,
like the Twitter recommendation accounts.
yeah.
And I just wanted a second opinion on what's happening and what I can prove.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like that's actually one thing. I think when I'm watching you play Vayne, it feels like you're maybe not thinking enough about when you actually want to pull the trigger, right? At least this game, right? Maybe other games not as much, but in this game, that's like the one thing I would say that you could easily improve on that can give you a lot of immediate results, right? Um, just like like thinking about when you want to pull the trigger, right? Because when you pull the trigger, it's not like you're not ever pulling it or that you're hard misplaying stuff, right? Like you can always play a bit better, but yeah, I would say that's like the big one. But yeah, that being said, I would like to thank you again, right? And
Thank you.
I would like to wish you a nice day. All right, goodbye, man.
Goodbye. Thank you.
You too. Bye bye.